Eastern Motors put you in a car today. Let Eastern Motors finance it all the way.
Good evening, friends. It's your good friend Jake Nazar here. We are, or me, for the moment, are live for some Friday Night Lacrosse, Watchalong. We've got Army and Colgate in a very important game here for, obviously, the Patriot League, but potentially the NCAA tournament as a whole. Army's, NCAA tournament resume, at-large hopes, things of that nature, all kind of hanging in the balance. There's 5:42 left. It looks like Colgate's about to go on a man up. Raiders leading by 2. The ACC Semifinals and the Ivy League Semifinals are at halftime. The Ivy League, first Ivy League Semifinal, got a weather delay for a bit there with Cornell and Yale to push that one back. That's hit halftime. Offensive game, 12-9, Big Red. And then we have the ACC. Cuse is up 8-6 over Notre Dame. Maybe a little bit surprised there. The Orange led by as many as – they started out 3-0 lead and led by as many as 4. So a lot to watch here, a lot to dive into. I'm with you now. Safe and Ryan will be joining me shortly, a bit later in the evening. But we're just going to be hanging out. We're going to be watching some lacrosse. Colgate scores to go up 15-12. Getting to be a little late for Army in this one. So, yeah, we will be hanging out. We'll be watching some lacrosse these games. As these games finish up, we'll be here for the late window with Princeton and Harvard in the Ivy League, BU and Lafayette in the Patriot League, and then the Tobacco Road game, North Carolina and Duke in the ACC. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Get the housekeeping out of the way. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Turn notifications on. Remember, we're going to be going live Sunday night for the selection show at the ungodly time of 9 p.m. Eastern. That's when we'll be going live. So we'll be live 30 minutes before the selection show begins. And then we'll be live breaking down the bracket as it comes out. The way things are going might not be a whole lot to talk about. But, we'll have to wait and see. We'll see how things shake out here. Pardon me. See how things shake out here over the course of the next couple of hours. I am here. Got some few of you with us, so if you guys got any questions, you want about any of these games, or just in general, select the tournament, bracketology, anything like that, feel free, put them in the chat, and we can just kind of, do a little Q&A here if you'd like. Or if you just want to listen to me, talk about these games, that's cool too. I am currently single screening. I think there's only one game going on. Which is the Army and Colgate game. But I'm single screening just because I don't want to overload my laptop here too much. With the clearing in this Army Colgate game here at the end is leaving a little bit to be desired. Under 4 minutes to go, Colgate leads by 3. Army needs to start scoring goals and win the faceoffs very quickly. But yeah, anything's on the table. You guys got any questions? I will happily answer them. You guys got stuff you want to talk about, do that, or we just watch these games. Good look. Oh man, late coming goal has been tremendous for Colgate. That feels like it might be the one that shuts the door on Army. I'm not gonna say Army's done. Done. It's over. Forget about it with a loss here. But obviously it's not going to help. And Colgate player lost a glove on a stick check. I guess he didn't, hear the rules that if you're a guy clearing the ball and you get slashed, it's not a penalty. I'm sure we'll see a lot of that in Carolina and Duke later. I'm not going to say Army is done. Dunzo, forget about it. Put a pin in it. If they lose this game, we'll see what happens. But their case would be in pretty perilous shape. I think our kind of view for the last couple months, all spring, has been they probably needed to get to the Patriot League championship and put 13 wins on the board. It would probably also kind of immunize them from a bad loss. We'll see how that shakes out, depending on if Colgate wins this game, what they do on. Army scores here, so they got it down. We got to 15-13 with 2:18 left. Look, Will Coletti can win faceoffs, so this game ain't over for sure. If it does turn out on the wrong end here for Army, I'm not gonna say it's done. It's not looking good. I think overall, it's kind of a familiar sort of feeling and a similar story to certainly last year, where they were the top team in the Patriot League in the regular season, got to number 1 in the country, if you remember, beat North Carolina, and then couldn't beat BU in the Patriot League semifinal. Here again would be Patriot League. All right, Coletti wins the faceoff. It'd be a Patriot League semifinal. And this has just kind of been a spot. I go back to 2021. That was the other year that they had a very good case. Probably the best case they've had as an at-large was 2021. Of course, they beat Syracuse, dominated them in the Dome. Cuse was the last team in the field. And that's just not, man. We're talking a 10-yard shot off kind of tough angle, stick side high, just not the look. And Army's won in the last, they won 13 games and they won 12 games in 2017. I mean, you should go back since 2015, they've won double-digit games in 8 seasons. 2015 won 10 games, didn't make the tournament. 2016 won 10 games, didn't make the tournament. 2017 they went 12-4, won the Patriot League regular season, but couldn't get in the tournament. 2018 was their lone kind of year. The bottom fell out a little bit. 2019, of course, they won the Patriot League tournament, got in Nick Turn's freshman year. 2021, 7-4, and that year they were 4-1. At 6-2 at one point, lost at Navy, and late in the year Annapolis, and then lost to Loyola. 2022, they were again kind of a similar story. They beat Cuse in the Dome. They were 10-2. Also beat Cornell that year, and then they lost to Navy at home, and did manage to make it to the Patriot League championship game that year, but lost by 4 to BU in the Patriot League championship. 2023 was the year they made it work, but 2024 again, semifinal loss, and 2025 looking like a semifinal loss. They just don't play their best in the month of May. I think if they lose this game, the record will be 4-4 since 2021, the month of May. You consider that to their record outside of May, where they've won, since 21, they've won over 50 games. It gives you an idea. Like their losses, one of 2 losses this year will be in May. One of 3 losses last year, 2022. One of 4 losses. They don't lose a lot, but I think kind of too often, if they just kind of sag these last couple weeks, and at least if you lost in the Patriot League championship, you pushed it as far as you could, and you would be in a position where you'd really make the committee make a choice. And I'm not sure if you lose this game that you are making the committee make a choice. In our latest edition of bizarre things that television networks come up with regarding, bracketology and things like that, CBS Sports Network has listed Navy as a key victory for Army. Not really sure where they're getting that one from. Seeing as Navy's season is currently over, they're not in the top 20 of RPI, obviously, and not even ranked in the media poll or anything either. So not really sure where that one's coming from for CBS Sports Network. Navy, not a key victory for the Terps. All right, 16-13 for the Raiders, and I think we can probably put this one in the book. Our good pal Mark Hart at Fieldy Stick on Twitter. Make sure to give him a follow if you do not already. Says he will be giving a little update in about a minute. So we will see. Maybe we'll have Mark swing by here to kind of discuss what the ramifications of this Army loss are. But yeah, the prior was, apologies that I take a sip of tea. The prior has been the Army needed this win. If you lost to BU again, hey, you lost to one team. BU is definitely in the top 20 of RPI. You've given yourself a shot. But this one is a pretty tough pill to swallow. Ooh, man, like another save. I'd be curious to see the number of saves that he has had in this game. Army got it to 10-8 at one point. And he played great in the first half, and he's really locked down in this fourth quarter, making some big stops. But 16 goals for Army. I mean, you're a defensive team. That's been Army's identity all season long, has been how great their defense is, how good Sean Byrne has been in the cage. And, I mean, Army, the stats this year, adjusted defensive efficiency, it'll probably go down, but they were number one in the country coming in. Adjusted save percentage, they were number two in the country. Army is on a man up right now. They've been number one in adjusted save percentage for a long, long stretch of this season. You just look at their adjusted defensive efficiency. The worst game Army's had in adjusted defensive efficiency all year is 29.5 against Bucknell. They have 8 games under 20%. I'm just going to go to the lacrosse reference website right now, go to the win probabilities and see what our good pal Zach has for the numbers in this game. We've got 16 goals on 44 possessions for AF Health. There are 14 and a half seconds left, and Army is down 3. So that's about, you can put this one in the books. Colgate's got the ball. So it's going to be a loss for the Black Knights here in the Patriot League semifinal. Shot goes wide. This is the worst game Army's played defensively all season, and it comes in their biggest game. No other way to really put that other than that. I mean, 16 goals on 44 possessions is 36%. Possessions in this game wound up pretty darn even, 45-44 for Army. Army won 62% of the faceoffs, didn't turn it over. A lot of failed clears. Credit to Colgate, the 10-man ride. And that goes final. Colgate beats Army 16-13. Nice scenes with Coach Matt Carwick. He was my Coach of the Year pick, and I had the Raiders as my dark horse team in the preseason. They brought a lot of talent back from offensively from a team that made a big leap. I think they were picked to finish last in the Patriot League in 2024. They made a strong leap, and they've taken it further here. They're going to the Patriot League championship game. See if they can make it one more win and get back to be the first time Colgate's been in the tournament since 2015, I believe, if they do. Colgate offense played terrific here. And that 10-man ride that we've been doing this. This was kind of really cool. I like CBS Sports Network does a great job producing these games, and this is a cool scene for Colgate right now. I did a whole thing on Twitter last night talking about the number of teams who do the 10-man ride when they're not good at it, and it was Villanova was just, it was insane. The way Villanova was running that 10-man ride against Providence last in the fourth quarter, they gave up like 3 goals. It's like, it's not working for you. Why are you doing it? But Colgate runs a good 10-man ride. They've got a great offense, and they have been a pretty good team all year long. They kind of got some early play in the top 20 before they took some tough losses in Patriot League play, but beating Lehigh 14-10 on the road, 2 straight. I'm not, overall, just mention, overall defense. Just you can't have that happen. And I got it down to 5 fail clears. If somebody can, wants to run the numbers and check it. But defense doesn't play well enough. Fail clears, not going to just Army's. Probably the worst game they played all year. The BU game. BU's obviously been a bugaboo for Army for a while, but bad loss to the wrong spot. And again, I'm not going to bury Army yet, but they haven't done themselves any favors with this game, and it would take a lot of things going their way, is how I would put it, to give themselves a shot at a at-large bid at this point. All right, so that one has gone final. I'm going to switch over to, let's do Yale and Cornell. See where that one is at. Princeton and Harvard coming up next. 12-10. So it's been an interesting game. Cornell is Cornell got up big in this one. I think 6-2, I want to say. And then Yale kind of pushed it back, and then Cornell scored 6 goals, I think, in the first 5-6 minutes of the second quarter. It was 12-6, but Yale's pulled it back again a little bit here. And I think this is, if you are a Cornell skeptic, I think this is the kind of game that you have a lot of maybe some ammunition. The offense is, I don't know how you stop the offense. I'll be real. CJ Crosse is the best player in the country, and he's just as good playing without the ball as he is playing with it, which is just such a deadly, thing to have. Oh my gosh, Cornell hits the post on an empty net. And Yale scoops up the ground ball. All right. Yeah, Crosse is the best player in the country, and he's just as good playing without the ball as he is playing with it, and he's the best dodger in the country. So, just not a great, it's a tough recipe to have to try and stop that offense. But defensively, they don't have if you're looking at the top teams defensively, the other elite sort of contenders, aside from, I would probably say, North Carolina, everybody has that one kind of top-notch pole that you look to and say, all right, this is our guy who's going to take the other team's best player, as Yale makes it a 1-goal game. You have, for Maryland, Will Schaller. Princeton's got Colin Molshine. Ohio State's got Bobby Van Buren. Penn State's got Alex Ross. Notre Dame obviously has Sean Light. Charlie Johnson's really emerged for Duke. QC, you can even say he's got Figueres. I don't really know, who Cornell has he put in that category. I wouldn't put anyone on there. But even just as much, I think their shorties have been kind of up and down. Really struggled at times. I thought the Richmond game, they really, really struggled. I think they've gotten better throughout the year, and I think Cornell's defense has played better as the year's kind of gone on. But if you want to kind of poke holes with them, I think it would be that if you put them in a game against a great offense and they don't really control the faceoff dot, there's ways you can attack them, and there's ways that you can kind of make them look a little ordinary on that side of the ball. Wyatt Nuss, I think, is a really good goalie. I don't think he's in that McNaney, Sean Byrne for Army, Caleb Fyock type tier. So as good as their offense is, I don't know why Cornell passed that shot up. I think it was Goldstein. He had an empty route to the cage. As good as their offense is, and as much as you don't want to, Long, he ain't missing this one. This kind of game is perfect. This is end to end. This game is crazy. Is Yale going to beat Cornell in a shootout? Probably not, because Yale is got just as much deficiencies and more on the defensive side of the ball than Cornell does. But put them in with Notre Dame, maybe, if they get hot. Maryland, you could perhaps argue. Penn State, you kind of saw it, that Penn State game. Obviously, Cornell give themselves a lot of issues in that game, but I think this, if you want some ammunition to be a doubter on Cornell, I think this game is giving you some. All right, we're gonna have a guest pop in here. Our good pal Mark Hart at Fieldy Stick is going to join us, and we are going to discuss what this loss for the Army loss to Colgate means for the Black Knights and their hopes, and just kind of the overall bracket as a whole. So I'm going to add Mark in here. Mark, how you doing, pal?
Hey, Jake, I was planning on having a leisurely chat. I don't think we're going to do
that. Yeah. I think when we discussed this last night, it was, and I sent you the link earlier. I'm saying you can just swing by if you'd like. They said last night, well, if, all hell kind of breaks loose, we'll see. And right now you've got, obviously, Army lost, which throws a big spanner in things. Yale is hanging around in this game, which would really get things.
The bubble would tighten significantly, and all of a sudden, over the course of an hour.
So we could have a hell of a lot to talk about. For now, we got something to talk about. So I didn't get a chance to look at your cheat sheet update yet. I can pull it up on the my screen here. I want to share it out.
I don't think it will surprise you, but throw it on screen.
Yeah. All right. I will go do that. And Mark, while I do that, what's your kind of read right now?
So I would say that currently Army's big problem is that Colgate has currently entered the top 20 in RPI, but I don't think they're going to stay there if they lose the Patriot League tournament. So there's a real possibility that Army not only has 2 losses, but they also have a bad loss, which is really going to hurt them when this comes down to large selection. So while Jake's looking for the cheat sheet, because I don't want to really say what the current situation is, Army's best case comparison on the bubble, in my opinion, is probably against Harvard, and that's because Harvard also has a bad loss, which could be a differentiating factor in Army's favor. However, if Army also has a bad loss, then that advantage sort of goes out the window. And then at that point, it's like, what is Army's case? If Harvard has better wins, they both have a bad loss, and Harvard's ahead in RPI. It's really hard to see how this goes Army's way in the call for the final spot in the field.
All right, I got it. Let me share my screen. And we're going to put this one up on the board right now. There we go.
Does it surprise you?
No. Yeah, I think that's, I think there's, look, my kind of view, I mean, we've been discussing this privately, has been Army's case, I almost think in some ways is kind of, and again, a lot of this was predicated on that they would lose Sunday and not lose today. It's kind of in the Army's case is sort of independent of how we're judging the other teams. The committee would have to really they'd have to love them, they'd have to love them. They'd have to maybe consult the the regional advisory committee. The win-loss record, which win-loss record is a selection criteria. And things would have to kind of fall nicely for them to the point where you could kind of say, well, hey, we're going to go with them because maybe Cuse loses 4 in a row and Harvard loses, and you're just kind of picking from, the best of a mediocre set. Right now, losing this game, I think they've done themselves damage that might be too much to overcome.
So without really relitigating arguments on Twitter over the last week, one that I had presented to me was Army's 4th in the polls, and I'm like, if Army loses, they're not still going to be 4th in the polls.
Yeah,
where's Army going to fall to if you lose to BU or Colgate or whoever? You're going to fall to 10th, and that sounds like bubble to me. Even if you do want to approach it that way of eye test, it's just really hard for me to see what their argument is, other than 12-2, I guess. So you want to quickly get nitty gritty on the win losses here?
By all means, yeah. We get
All right. So the RPI hasn't officially updated, but I ran the result through the sim. Army's wins are currently number 6 North Carolina, number 19 Yale. That's it in the top 20. Then they have number 22 Rutgers, number 20. Oh, they also got Colgate. So they have 6, 18, and 19 in terms of wins. Rutgers did fall out. The problem is Colgate going to stay in the top 20?
Yeah, it's good. Well, here, let me run.
It just updated, actually.
So let's say Colgate loses to BU. And this is just one result. You need to get a really accurate representation, you need to run all of it. But be that as it may. Colgate loses to BU and their RPI goes to 55-10 and they're 18th. What is it right now?
55-60, and they're 18th.
That's a bit ahead. They wouldn't move in the ranking to 18th, but again, I haven't run literally any other result.
And the thing is that at 55-10, they're only 0.002 away from the cut line, which is 54.90 right now. So that's very susceptible to being passed.
If Lafayette beats Colgate, if I just run that, Lafayette would probably move in the top 20, which that could maybe get them another win. But Colgate will be 55-08 with a loss to Lafayette. So
Gil, to answer your question about the selection committee, they are represented this year by Rutgers, Ohio State, Virginia, Drexel, and formerly St. Bonaventure.
That being Randy Mearns.
Yep. So no West Point representation on this committee.
Yeah, I just, it's weird because if you're looking, there's a world where their resume is not too dissimilar having lost this game than what it is right now, or even what it would have been if they'd won and lost on Sunday. And if they had beaten Colgate, Colgate was not going to be a top 20 win. Colgate's in the top 20 because they beat Army. I just think it's more from the number one thing the committee was going to have to discuss if Army lost on Sunday was 13-2 Army.
Yep.
And I just don't know if that's the number one thing they have to discuss now.
Jake, can you pull up the the wide view of RPI that shows the win losses by banding?
Yeah.
I want us to look at them versus Harvard real quick because they're right beside each other in the RPI.
Let me see if it's up to. Yes, they are 11-12. All right. I'm going to share the RPI tab right now, and can I zoom? I don't think I can zoom in, but you've got Harvard at 11 and Army at 12.
So Harvard's ahead there. Just go across the board.
Both teams currently striking out on top 5 RPI wins. Obviously, that could maybe change for Army if Carolina wins later and they get good results elsewhere. Both teams have one top 10 win. Harvard's is over Cuse. Army's is over North Carolina, as mentioned. For Harvard, I think Hughes probably stays in the top 10 at the end. But I don't know. I mean, if Harvard beats Princeton and Syracuse loses, but then we have a whole different conversation. And then this is the big differentiator. Also for Harvard, their bad loss was Colgate, right?
It's a double whammy that the bad loss came off the board. And if it goes back on, now Army has the same bad loss.
Oof, boy. Yeah.
That's like worst case scenario.
That's not good.
So the reason I wanted you to show this is Harvard's ahead in literally every category. Like the main things we look at.
Yeah. And the win-loss record is 10-3, 12-2. Yeah.
I'm like you. I'm not going to say that that Army's done, but I don't even know what they need at this point. Like, I can't tell you what set of results they need. It's so convoluted to try to think of what they could have to get in now.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, it's basically, it's better than last year because last year they had three losses. Yeah, and where did they wind up in RPI last year?
Give me just a second. I think it was like 17th or something. But yeah, it's clearly better than that there.
Gil, I will do the officially margin of victory does not matter for the selection criteria. And then I will give you, obviously, if Harvard lost by 15, I'm not going to be a fool and pretend that the committee wouldn't pay attention to that. If you're asking me, and this came up on Twitter when I said that, KM mentioned as well, they need Princeton to beat Harvard by, when I brought this up on Twitter, there was like some replies, and I was like, look, I'm not going to push back on the idea that they're done because it's hard to come up with a scenario that plays out right for them. I think the Harvard comparison looked good for them in a world where they won this game and then lost to BU, let's say, or even Lafayette, honestly, because Lafayette would have wound up in the top 20. Injuries aren't a factor, right? No, there is no. I mean, there's no college football playoff. They're not the same team they were then. Type deal from a couple years ago.
So Jake, this is Army's profile from last year. They were 11. They were 11-3, 17th in RPI, 31st in strength of schedule. Their only top 20 win was over number 4 Syracuse, and they had a bad loss in the mix. So
they beat Cuse last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was the game. Yeah. That game was in the Dome. I remember now. Yeah, you're right.
So I would say this is clearly better, but the problem is better is probably going to end up being first team out.
Oh wow! Goodness. Are they calling in the crease? Sorry. So if you're not noticed, Chris Lyons just had a one-on-one with the goalie, and Cornell put a Hail Mary trail check. The ball wound up going in the goal anyway, but they've called in the crease as Lyons went through on the follow-through. Yeah, Lyons goes through in the crease before the ball trickles past Nust. That's about the 3 crazy swings on one play. Anyhow, Mark, please continue. Sorry.
What were you saying there, Jake, about it being a clearly better case, I guess?
We said clearly better case than last year, but clearly better case than 2024. This year winds up at probably first team out.
Look, who knows what the committee's going to decide? I'm not the committee. You're not the committee. Patrick Stevens is not the committee. The committee has a mind of its own. But I will say it's hard to see in the data what Army's argument is with this set of data.
Here comes Cornell's offense. Yeah, and it's not even I don't know that the data was ever going to be in their favor but
they needed to make it. They needed to make it close enough.
Yes, they needed to be where you could go, okay, Cuse's argument is this, Harvard's argument is this, Army's argument is we won 13 games, we lost 2 to a top 20 team, one of them the last game of the year. We beat, maybe their North Carolina win was like the best win on the board. Army needed to have their own lane. And I think them having their lane is really damaged by taking this loss because they just become a little more ordinary. That's not to say they're not a very good team, but I think an Army team that's lost to BU and Colgate in Patriot League play, and a lot of their wins are Yale and Rutgers, or that's 2 of their kind of significant wins. As you said, it kind of even going to like the polls thing. This is a very sort of, it's kind of like Notre Dame from a couple years ago. People are going to look at a team that's in the top 5 of the polls and like if Army won and then lost, I think they might still be in the top 5. I think people look at that and they're like, man, a top 5 team, they got to be in the tournament, right? To your point, I don't think people look at a top 10 team and be like, well, they got to be in the tournament. I mean, how many top 10 Cornell teams have we seen not make the tournament? Like, I think people probably look at it a little different.
Jake, let's say that Army gets the best case scenario and that BU and Colgate both end up in the top 20 and they avoid a bad loss.
Yeah.
Their argument is going to be, well, we lost to 2 top 20 teams. How are we any different than a team like Maryland, who also has 2 sort of suspicious losses to Rutgers and Michigan, who are 2 back-end top 20 teams? And I think you are one of the best equipped people in the whole world to explain what the difference is.
Yeah, the difference to put the RPI, coach on is Maryland has 11 wins, and 7 of those 11 wins are in the top 10. 9 of them are not. They just call another delay in Cornell. Yeah, I think they did. Man, we might be here all night with the Ivy.
There is plenty of evidence to say that Maryland is a deserving tournament team, in spite of 2 sort of suspicious losses.
Yeah.
With Army, it's literally just 1 win.
Yeah. Geez, Syracuse and Notre Dame is in a weather delay too.
Might be an all-night live show.
All right. Well, at this point, we're just podcasting. So if you guys got questions,
is there not a game going on right now?
I don't think there's a game going on right now. Man, what? Jeez, we really set this one up great, huh?
Jake, send out a tweet saying that we're live while everything else is in a weather delay, I guess.
That's what I'm literally about to do. You want something to watch? Yeah. When's the ASUN is Air Force in Jacksonville still going? There they go final.
Air Force came back and won 15-12 in that game. So ASUN championship is going to be Air Force versus Utah in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh my gosh.
That's technically like the closest stadium to me. You think I should go to it on Saturday or on Sunday?
I mean, if you got nothing better to do. There's probably gonna be a couple other games going on at that point.
Could be.
We're in a weather delay. We're weather delay city, but we're still live. So we got a good number of you in the chat watching with us. I love Harvard just like tweeting out the like every 30-minute updates about when their game is being pushed back due to the weather delay. It's like, but guys, you might just, who knows at this point? We'll see. We'll see. All right. Yeah. If you guys got any questions, throw them at us. We'll tackle them. Safe's running a little behind, but he should be here in a bit. All right. What else? All right. If Harvard, not Harvard, pardon me. I'll throw another one at us. Another one at you, Mark. If Rutgers stays out of the top 20 and that's a bad loss for Maryland, how punishing does that wind up being?
Are we assuming that Maryland loses tomorrow?
Sure. Let's do both.
I would probably say still second, maybe third at the worst, because that head-to-head against Princeton is going to be helpful. And Maryland still has better wins than Princeton. Jake, Maryland has 4 top 5 wins right now. They have literally beaten the entire top 5 other than themselves.
That's nuts. That's nuts. They've beaten 2, 4. Well, actually, they haven't beaten the entire. They didn't beat Cornell, but they beat Penn State twice. So they've got 2, 4 twice, 5, 7, 9, and 10. They've beaten 6 of the other 9 top 10 teams.
Crazy.
AF Health says BU game coming up. What time is that facing off? Is it at the top of the hour or a little bit after?
So it was scheduled at 7, but I have no idea what time the Army game actually ended. If it ended on time, it should come on at 7. So to answer the question about whether I think Harvard gets in, depends on what happens with this Yale game. I'd say if Yale ends up winning the Ivy League, we might have a major situation. Shout out there to Brigade Review in the chat, says Army is locked at 12th in RPI. So that's not the best news for Army either.
Yeah. There's a way for Yale, Rutgers, Colgate to be top 20. In that case, I think it has to be Brigade Review. If you have the scenario for that, I'd love to hear it. But
so the differentiating factor there, I would assume, is that Army has a top 5 win and Harvard doesn't. Like, that's their whole case, basically.
Yeah. And I think it's got to be to go to the folks' point. Again, I know that margin of victory is not a factor in this. If Harvard loses, if Harvard's last impression is a really bad loss to Princeton, it's going to matter. It just is. Harvard's got to do something that really does not make them look good. Get the Colgate thing in there. Yeah, Army gets Colgate. Harvard, obviously, it's just an L, but it's not a bad loss. But yeah, they need a top 5 win that Harvard doesn't have. And I think they got to, hope Harvard makes a bad impression.
Jake Gill asked in the chat, what is the biggest OT result of the year? If you don't have another one better, I'm going to say Duke Richmond is the most pivotal one.
Yeah, I was thinking Penn State, Cornell. What's Penn State's? If you take that top 5 win for Penn State from Cornell away, Penn State doesn't have another top 10 win.
Give me just a second, and I'll tell you where they'd be in RPI.
I think that one. I think Penn State's kind of squarely on the bubble. Brigade Review, good one. BU beating Army in OT. That's, yeah. I mean, Army. I think Army. It's a much different story if they are undefeated and this is their first loss. That's a good one. Duke Richmond is. Go ahead, Mark.
Hell, Army might still be a seed.
Yeah, that's significant. All right, man. Those are the 3. It's Duke, Richmond. Richmond is in the NCAA tournament. Like that's what Richmond is in the NCAA tournament if they beat Duke. I'll flat out say I don't think much of it. If Richmond beats Duke, I don't think it matters what happens against High Point. They're in the tournament. I think they would be in the NCAA tournament if they had beaten Duke. So that's obviously hard to. I mean, because you think of the domino effects there. Also, even if Richmond didn't lose, if Richmond had beaten Duke and wins again, where is Richmond in the seeding order?
If Richmond had beaten Duke and then won the A10,
yeah.
I mean, they've got probably a top 10 win over Duke.
Yes,
and they're 14-2. And they probably would be like 5th in RPI.
I think they'd be ahead of North Carolina. And probably Notre Dame as well. So they'd be seeded, 5th maybe?
Yeah. Like it's crazy how many tight games just really decide the the season. The margins are so slim.
Yeah, I think Penn State and Cornell's still big just because KM's good on this one. This wasn't an OT game. Richmond was dump trucking Cornell for a quarter and a half. Richmond's another team. Army's a little more difficult because, I mean, I guess not. I mean, if you're, your Army's perspective, it's like, hey, if you had beaten BU and beaten Colgate, you're in. But Army, I think, got a little hard done by this year, due to the fact that it's one. I think you could. I don't even know if you can really hit Army on the strength of schedule thing because it's like Yale is normally a top 12 team, and that game is right now it's a top 20 win, but it's kind of hanging right now. There's been years where you beat Yale, it's a top 10 win. Rutgers is usually definitely a top 20 win. Hell, Loyola at times has been a top 20. Even Loyola in what was Loyola in RPI last year?
Give me just a second.
Like, I think Loyola won 500 last year, might have finished below 500, and they were still on the border. Like, look, if Loyola just wins half of their games with how crazy the schedule they play is, they're always going to be in the conversation RPI.
So I don't
completely bottomed out of it.
I don't know in the final because I only have the top 20 on the final sheet, but on the next to last one, they were 24th in RPI.
Yeah, I think Army just got burned a bit by tough year in terms of how their schedule shook out. For Richmond, now Richmond, to be fair, you could do the same thing with Richmond. You could say in most years you beat Virginia and Georgetown, you don't have 2 top 20 wins, you have 2 top 10 wins. And that really changes the scenario.
While I think we feel extra empathy for these mid-major programs when the schedules don't work out, this goes all the way up and down the board. You can say the same thing about Hopkins. I mean, I know Hopkins sucks, but the schedule didn't work out this year for Hopkins. That your best win is Virginia, and it's just the top 20 win. It's just a run-of-the-mill top 20 win.
Yeah, I mean, Hopkins is that's good. I mean, I'm not gonna spend really a lot of time on them, but I know this was like a thing for the Hopkins on the boards and things like that. So, well, you can't say the Melendez injury was like the biggest thing for their season. It's like, no, it's not, but it's also like if they win 2 Big Ten games, they're right in the thick of it. If they're 8-6 instead of 6-8, and there's it looks a lot different. But yeah, obviously it's a different story.
So the whole idea here about that the schedule didn't work out, and I know that you're not necessarily suggesting that we put them in because the schedule didn't work out.
No, I'm saying it just kind of sucks.
But let's say in 2022 things didn't work out for the ACC. Now that was self-inflicted that it didn't work out for the ACC, but it's the same basic idea.
I see a third man coming in.
Coming in hot.
The big man.
Let's go. I walked out to grab a bite when Notre Dame scored to cut it to 1. I was like, oh, shoot, I'm going to be really late. And then I come back, it's like, oh, weather delays. I'm like, oh. It's just the lax gods are smiling at us. Yeah, for sure. Or at least for me.
Safe, do you know yet? Do you know the deal?
I have been unplugged for a bit. I was getting ready for a run after work, but I don't know exactly which deal you mean right now. So.
Army.
Oh, that for sure. No, I was like the Raiders, in the chat.
Yes.
Oh no, it's nightmare scenario for
So we have a capital S situation as far as brackets go right now.
It's old school, yeah. Jersey Shore, situation. Look, I mean. So I got to see how things play out. But, I mean, if Notre Dame wins ACC, stays the top 5, maybe. But, I mean.
Carolina, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, North Carolina. They win.
Right now, it's Carolina 6, Notre Dame 5.
Yeah, I mean, we always support the troops, Jake. But,
True.
But yeah, no, I mean, not the best position to be in if you're an Army fan. Another year in a row. So.
So, Jake, I'm asking for the best case scenario set of results for Army before I hop off of here.
All right, Safe. I guess we can tackle this. They need. I'll stop presenting the RPI page so we can look at this. They need. What do they need here? They need Colgate to beat BU, right? Because that can't stay a bad loss. They need
North Carolina to win the ACC for sure.
Sure. They need Yale to beat Cornell, maybe. I mean, what's that? I don't know. That's gonna happen. Cornell's up 16-12, I think, as they just hit another weather delay. So let's go with Yale beats. Let's keep it semi. Let's say Yale beats. Is Colgate really locked in the top 20? In the world,
I cannot imagine they're locked top 20 because the margin was only 0.02 when you just ran their game. I mean,
sure. Yeah, they're tight. They were tight. Yeah, when I ran it, they were like 55-02, which I don't know. I feel like just to be safe, you want Colgate to win. We'll try that. Let's say Colgate wins. Let's say Yale wins, but then loses the Ivy League championship. Just I don't know. I'm going to be kind of reasonable here. St. Joe's gets hurt by a bunch of random small conferences, regardless of result. Are they a threat from Rutgers in some way? I know Rutgers doesn't play anymore.
Rutgers. Towson's going to be the one that's on the big upward trend, I'd say.
Oh, yeah. Towson.
I wouldn't say there's any way that Army gets compared to BU. BU has 2 bad losses.
Yeah, BU's not in the conversation. BU's not in the conversation. It's not. If BU had beat them twice, maybe somehow, then, but that's not going to – and the only world where BU beat them twice, they literally win the Patriot League. So, yeah, Mark, I think or say if you can jump in. I think they need I would probably say Colgate, but heck, maybe we could run it either way. Colgate, let's say Yale beats Cornell and Carolina wins the ACC. Pardon me, Carolina wins the ACC.
Jake, I think you might need to give Syracuse this game to get them out of the picture.
So Syracuse beats Notre Dame?
Yeah, because if not, Syracuse is in the bubble conversation.
That's very true. All right, let's see. Syracuse beats Notre Dame. BU beats Colgate. I'll run it with both. I'll do BU beats Colgate first. Or how about this? I'll do Colgate beats BU first. Colgate beats BU. Syracuse beats Notre Dame. North Carolina beats Duke. North Carolina beats Syracuse. And then what else I say? Yale beats Cornell.
Yale beats Cornell and then say loses to Princeton.
All right, we'll do Princeton beats Harvard. Yeah, because they definitely need that. They don't want Princeton. They don't want Princeton. Or they don't want Harvard getting a Princeton win on the board. And Princeton beats Cornell. All right. I'm going to run that. In RPI, we've got oh, no, Princeton doesn't beat Cornell. Princeton beats Yale. What am I doing?
Say for any games live while we're talking about this, because I'm not sitting at a TV right now.
Yeah, Cornell. So weather delay. Houston's supposed to start at 7-2, so like 10 minutes.
All right.
Games live right now.
Okay. Here we go. Here's the top RPI if under the scenario that, and thanks for you guys following along the chat for helping me out. I think we all kind of know the scenario now. When I run that scenario, the results of, here you go, I'll just do this. All right, with these results, and friends, you can do this at, if you just go to the RPI page on the Cross reference, you can literally run these all yourself, play around with it. The simulator is a great source. Zach's awesome. Syracuse beats Notre Dame. Colgate beats BU. Oh, hang on. Let me put BU beats Lafayette in here. One more. Just to be as thorough as I can be. Syracuse beats Notre Dame. Colgate beats BU. BU beats Lafayette. Carolina wins the ACC. Yale beats Cornell, but loses to Princeton in the Ivy League championship game. We have the RPI of Maryland 1, Princeton 2, Carolina 3, Penn State, man. Tam's scheduled like it. Tam's did like AP calculus. Penn State still being fourth in RPI is incredible. Penn State 4, Cornell 5, Ohio State 6, Syracuse 7, Richmond 8, Duke 9, Notre Dame 10, Harvard 11, Army 12. That's your RPI. Now let me do this because you can even do this. You can do head to head. Go ahead.
Well, it'll show it on this page. I was going to say count top 20 wins.
Yeah, so we'll do Harvard, Army. Do we need anybody else in here?
I think that's it. I think this is best case for Army.
All right. That does it. This scenario right here gets Army in the tournament.
I'd say it gets them. It gets them into the conversation.
I think they have a top 5 win. Harvard does not. They both have one top 10 win. Army would have 4 top 20 wins.
Harvard has the same.
12th, 11th in RPI.
Harvard has a much stronger strength of schedule, I think. Scroll down to the losses, though. Similar enough. Well,
I think Army gets in with this. Safe, what do you think?
I think so as well. But I was going to say, just what if Colgate wins the Patriot League?
Okay, let's do that. Yeah,
gets them into the top 20.
Jay, they're still in the top 20 with this semi-round.
Jake, before we start messing with this, screenshot that scenario and tweet this out.
Okay.
This is what Army fans should be rooting for, basically, I guess.
And I think, they need Notre Dame to win, I think.
I think they need Cuse to win.
Yeah, I think they need Cuse to win, too.
I don't think they want Cuse in the conversation with them. Because Cuse getting it out just splits it down to 2.
Because, Notre Dame already has their North Carolina win. If they are able to if Syracuse does not get another top 5-ish win with Notre Dame, and Notre Dame stays out of the top 5, North Carolina wins, becomes top 5, Notre Dame 6. So Syracuse wins 6. I mean, they have Virginia and Hopkins, but I think Army with a top 5 and it's compared to Cuse, I think maybe a little tough. I think that may get them in. I think you want to be compared to Cuse if Cuse loses to Notre Dame. So I'm thinking.
The problem I think is that Harvard is going to be in over Cuse if Cuse loses. And so then it kind of becomes like a 3-way conversation. And I don't know that they...
That's the other reason why I was thinking, because, if that could knock Cuse to keep it 11, 12, or 13 RPI, preventing Harvard from having a top 10 RPI, let alone a top 5.
This might be top 10. They'll still, we'll see. We'll play around with it once you're done.
Yeah. Tweet that out before you mess with anything because we don't want to lose that
scenario. Yeah,
all right.
This is
keep vamping. And I'm gonna tweet it out.
No, I think that's definitely on point. I mean, Mark, just to give you a heads up, Lafayette and BU's kind of just warming up. It looks like with a delayed start that they haven't gotten started yet, and everything else is still about a delay.
All right, sounds good.
Gil, I saw your comment. I was going to say, the seasons where Hopkins wasn't making, late stage Petro, early Millman, I was still kind of in mourning. So, not making tournaments, but it's 2013 so far long ago. Yeah, I don't even remember it almost. So I was like, this is kind of refreshing to be going through a tournament, not having to worry about it's obviously going to make it. It's almost freeing. But obviously, I would love the Jays were, as with Mark, in the conversation, but not to be.
Safe, our other Blue Jay brother just hopped in the chat.
Is that Adam? What else?
Adam says, "Do we know why Army chokes every year?" Yeah, I know. I personally didn't want things to be this difficult myself either. I was looking forward to a good night of sleep.
Say that keeping us up now. Going to be much more eventful Selection Sunday. At the end, it's the Patriot League's. I don't want to say fault, but it's just they got to do something to help accommodate their teams. The ACC, I think I just saw it, right? They are going to allow their basketball teams to only play 18 or was it 17 instead of 20 conference games to make their profile more competitive on a national scale for, Selection Sunday for basketball. I was I think the Patriot League's got to do the same thing. Just 5 league games for sure. You can choose whatever 5 to make it, and then, or 6, and then just have maybe just need 2 more non-conference dates available. So and I think that helped them greatly. But
I was talking about this with Zach a little bit a few weeks ago. Zach's a lacrosse reference for anyone who doesn't know, and he was suggesting that the Patriot League should go to 7 games. And I got to thinking about that, and I was I don't think the numbers work. I think they'd have to go to 6.
Yeah,
I think you'd have to go to 6 games. So short of either them going to 6 games or adding a 10th member and then splitting into 2 5-team divisions, I don't really see what their options are in terms of making the math work better for them.
I think it's just help alleviate some of the scheduling inflexibility they have now, and obviously just would make their profiles that much better in terms of a national landscape.
Someone tell America.
Yale, Cornell, so Weatherden, KM. So.
Someone tell American to add lacrosse to get the Patriot League to 10 teams so they can split into divisions.
I was going to say, right? There's a couple in that district area.
Washington.
TW? Yeah, TW dying. They got 30,000 kids.
All right, let's play around with this. Let's say, crap, I messed up that tweet. I need to tweet that out again. Sorry. Keep vamping. I messed up the tweet.
Houston's supposed to start in 2 minutes.
So safe in other sports, these are the divisions that the Patriot League uses. South Division is American, Loyola, Navy, Lehigh, and Lafayette. And the North Division is Bucknell, Army, Colgate, Boston, and Holy Cross. So the split would be between the Pennsylvania and New York schools, I guess.
Yeah, you can do it geographically. That helps. Especially traveling pressure. You don't have to make every single season or every other one more flexibility. I think that's just to me, it's just a kind of a layup decision for the Patriot League. And if the ACC's got to do it for basketball, I was the Patriot League can do it for lacrosse.
I'll have to find out what I was looking at then, because I definitely was looking at one that just had divisions. I'll send you a DM, so maybe you can tell me what the hell I was looking at, because I was looking at it while I was talking. Maybe I looked at something wrong.
Yeah.
But to answer Adam's question about can Hopkins still get in if a certain former vice president still has courage. Safe and I were actually talking about that maybe the selection criteria should be changed to give Hopkins an automatic qualifier just every year.
Just for
wasn't that basically what it was up until 2010 or 2013?
And I still say we had a good case 2013, but better one than 2010. 2010, no one just won it. As we always say, Jake, you have to seize upon the world.
Jake, did you get the tweet fixed that time, or?
I'm almost done with it. Yes, Brigade Review. I am going to do. I'm going to send out this tweet. I'll tag you in the tweet as well. And then once we do that, we'll start playing around with it.
The thing I'm worried about with BU over Colgate, by the way, is the margin is just so thin that I imagine there's a set of results out there somewhere that knocks Colgate out of the top 20. But I haven't had time to mess with this yet myself. Obviously, it just went final an hour ago, so we're kind of figuring it out on the fly here tonight. I guess it actually is a good thing that there was a weather delay to kind of give us a chance to get everything figured out on this.
Exactly. The Chiefs pushed back another 5 minutes, 7:23. But no time even listed for the Yale Cornell game.
All right, I got it right. Okay. What do we want to try first? BU over Colgate or safe scenario with Syracuse?
Yeah, whatever. Let's go.
Right, so if I flip BU and Colgate, the RPI, yeah, Colgate falls to 19th, and they're still in there.
0.0016 margin.
Pretty close. Yeah, and of course we haven't accounted for Towson yet. Here, how about this? How about I just add Towson beating? Who's Towson play? Drexel?
Yep. That's good. That should move them to like 17th unless something has changed since yesterday.
All right, Colgate stays in by a whisker over Rutgers.
And the problem is those are both Army rooting interests. That Army wants both of them in the top 20, Colgate and Rutgers.
Yes, so Army wants Drexel to beat Towson tomorrow. All right, I'll take that one out. All right, let's get. Let's say. So, say if you want Notre Dame over Cuse.
Yeah.
You want North Carolina over Duke? Yeah, because Army needs North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then we take North Carolina over Cuse off the board, and we'll do North Carolina over Notre Dame.
I had just only 4 here, and I just put Colgate over BU, and that put Army's RPI even above Cuse. Like Colgate's like 15.
All right.
They're bubbling with Harvard.
So this is how it happens. Maryland, Princeton, UNC, Penn State, Cornell. Notre Dame's up to 6. Harvard's at 10th. Cuse is 11th, which would take a top 10 win off the board for Harvard. Army's 12th.
Pause, though, before you say anything else. It takes a top 10 win off the board for Harvard, but as you said earlier, Harvard is likely ahead of Syracuse in any bubble call.
All right, so let's go to the head-to-head. Harvard, Army, and let's add Syracuse.
Jake, can you rearrange those or not? So
how do you want it arranged?
Let's go Harvard, Syracuse, Army, because that would be my gut feeling.
Okay. No, I guess not. Let me see.
Okay, I guess we're doing it like this then. I guess we're doing it live.
Let me see. Harvard, Syracuse, and is it just going to put it back? It would be hilarious if it does. It does. All right, fair enough. Let's do it.
It's probably put them in order by like SOR or something, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that's what it's done. All right. Yeah,
Army has the best win,
and they have the same number of top 20 wins as everyone else.
The RPI is higher in this one, right? 11?
No, it's their 12th. This is the SOR.
Oh.
The RPI is here. Oh, my bad. It's gonna do that. Yeah, 10th, 12th, 11th.
Scroll down and see what losses look like. I assume Syracuse has the quote best losses of these 3.
They got 5 of them, 6 of them though.
Yeah, but those are some quality losses right there.
It's a hard 9 and 6.
It's a hard 6.
Syracuse and Notre Dame is back underway. We're at 9-7, 5 minutes into the third quarter. Just a heads up for you guys. All right, I think this actually isn't bad for Army.
Is Harvard
lab, Jake?
Go ahead, Safe.
Can you just go to the lab for what we have right now?
Yeah.
I just wanted to see the games. Oh, okay. I was really throwing a lot more because I only did those 4, And that's what gave Army like, kind of a clear.
Is Harvard ahead of Syracuse, though, when we go back to look at those profiles?
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame being 6th might be what kicks it to Harvard. Because Harvard doesn't have a top 10 win here. But honestly, to me, this is the old, not to use the same, bring it up for the millionth time we've done this on this podcast. This is the 2022 scenario where Ohio State notoriously didn't have any top 10 wins, but they did beat the other two teams they were directly compared to, and that's what got them in.
I actually disagree. I think this is more like 2019.
Okay, fair. I'm just saying in the sense of,
so Ohio, it's kind of like a combination of the two, because I know what you mean. They don't have a top 10 win, but they also don't have the double head-to-head that Ohio State had. They only have a single head-to-head.
True. I just think that Harvard having the head-to-head here might be what pushes them ahead of Cuse. Unless Cuse had a top 5 win, that might be enough. I mean, again, we're just, as Mark said earlier, we're not the committee. None of us are on it. So the committee can go with whatever they kind of want to.
Jake, let me see the results that got us here and kind of figure out if there's any way to get Notre Dame into the top 5.
Okay, let's say Notre Dame beats Carolina, because Carolina's 3. So let's say if Notre Dame beats Carolina, does that maybe loop them both in?
I do it like switch almost.
I think you flipped the wrong one. Yeah.
Or I think it's messing up for me here. Let me take this off and then just go. We want Notre Dame over Carolina?
Yeah.
I don't know why it's doing that. Why am I? All right. I don't know. I'm just going to take Notre Dame over Carolina off and then just put it back on. Go back.
Jesus.
Aha.
Jake, what a wild world we live in that it's better for Army's best win to lose in the ACC championship game.
So this would probably.
I think that's clearly Army and Syracuse.
Okay. Let's pin this one. Let me take a screen cap. Y'all can go ahead and Vamp, I do that. All right. And y'all keep vamping while I put this together.
So
Safe, is the Patriot League game live yet?
Yeah. Cuse game is on. Notre Dame just cut it down to 1. They were showing golf on the CBS Sports Network. Just back on. 10 minutes remaining in the first 0-0-3.
So I hate to leave you solo for just a second, but I'm going to get up and go turn the game off in my living room. So maybe I can run it in here while we're talking and keep an eye on it.
No, we'll just keep it live. All right. So we got 0-0 here at Lafayette and BU. It's Princeton game. So it's wonderful TV for everyone watching at home. No, not even a time set for Yale Cornell, so they may be still like lightning strikes is usually how it works. The last lightning strike and then 30 minutes later. It's Notre Dame.
Notre Dame Syracuse game is really close. I hadn't seen a score in a while, so
yeah.
It was 9-8 when I just walked in there to turn the stream off in my living room.
7:30 left, so probably gonna be a really good one. Yeah, I think really it's like Cuse winning this game. It's gonna sink Army. You know, if they win this game, I think that's like their biggest threat because then Cuse's own profile increases, and then they have potentially another game where they get another like top 10-ish RPI win. So I think that's just Army's biggest concern. I think if they lose here, as you just guys noted, if North Carolina loses Notre Dame, that might be even better for Army. But yeah, things like long as North Carolina beats Duke and Notre Dame beats Syracuse here, like I think that's gonna help out Army for the most part. As long it sounds like Yale doesn't come out of nowhere.
Here's the kicker with what we're discussing, though, that I think is the issue. Do they have any case where Yale loses to Cornell? Because that's everything we've been doing here has been incumbent upon Yale racing a 4-goal deficit to Cornell.
Why don't we start playing around with it?
All right, let's do it. So
Yale and Princeton have Harvard.
Let's say Cornell beats Yale, and does it matter Cornell and Princeton for Army?
Probably not. I would just probably take that out.
Okay, cool.
All
right, so this is our 3-way head-to-head scenario. Yale is 8. Did I put Princeton over Yale? Did I put Cornell over Yale? I did. Okay. Doesn't change much. Yale's still 18th.
Who do we have winning the ACC here?
Notre Dame. No, wait, hang on. Crap, my bad. Let's do Notre Dame first.
Jake, actually, we might need to do the Ivy League game because I hadn't thought about this. That could open up a spot in the top 5.
Ooh, okay. This hurts Army.
Yeah, I think Army's bubble out if Yale wins the Ivy.
Or Yale doesn't win. Because what happens is if Notre Dame beats Carolina, Carolina falls to 6, and I think this is Harvard and Syracuse.
See what the top 5 in RPI looks like with what we've entered so far.
Okay, so we've entered.
I assume it's Maryland, Penn State, the 2 Ivy League teams, and
Maryland, Princeton, Cornell, Notre Dame, Penn State.
And who's winning the Ivy League? Notre Dame.
You mean the ACC or the?
Yeah, the ACC. Notre
Dame's winning it in this scenario. All right, let me flip it.
Go before you do that. Go Princeton over Cornell.
Okay.
See if that opens up a spot in the top 5.
Nope.
See how close it is. See if we can keep messing with this. No, it's not close. So.
Yeah, that's not happening. All right, let's flip Carolina over Notre Dame.
But then I still think the problem is that they're not both in, which is what we managed to get with the other one.
Cuse is up 10-8, by the way, as we're doing this.
I'm sure Ryan's very happy with that.
This probably does it too. Because Cuse gets a top 10 that Harvard Yeah, I want to say this.
You going to call Army ahead of both of them?
I'd put Army ahead of Harvard in this one, yeah. Okay. 1 top 5 win. Harvard has no top 10 wins. Yeah. 4 split. Yeah, I think that's honestly not even really a difficult call.
Check losses. Make sure there's nothing untoward there.
Nope.
Okay.
Syracuse. I would put Army over both of them, yeah, because Army's got a top 5 win that Syracuse doesn't have.
Harvard over Syracuse for the last spot?
Could be. I mean, yeah, at that point you probably have to. The more we're doing this, the more I'm seeing, again, I feel comfortable when we said that I don't think Army's done. It's hard. Like, they need a lot of help. But there's universes out there where this still
let's run a scenario that doesn't look so good for Army and just see what it looks like. Let's say Duke beats North Carolina tonight.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about that one. All right, give me a moment. While we're doing this, friends, if you've liked this video so far, if you enjoy what we've been doing, smash that like button, hit subscribe. We'll be live Selection Sunday, whether it's eventful, uneventful, what have you. Good save by McCool. We're going to be there at the, again, ungodly hour of 9 o'clock. All right. Notre Dame versus North Carolina. Notre Dame's off the board. Duke beats North Carolina. And we want to put anything else in here with that?
Call the ACC one way or the other, just because that's going to have a big impact on the top 10.
All right, Notre Dame beat Duke.
Jake, you said whether it's eventful or uneventful. At this point, is there any way it can be uneventful?
Syracuse beats Notre Dame. Harvard beats Princeton.
Okay, that's uneventful.
There you go. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that pretty much just wraps the whole conversation up. Oh, yeah, this is Army smell you later, I think, maybe. Well, I don't know. Harvard. But do you put – I don't know. Is Syracuse having a top 5 win enough to put them over Harvard?
See, that's the problem, is that if all three of them are tied together, you can end up with Harvard elevated ahead of Syracuse, who they look worse than.
My thing I always do, I say if it's head to head, I think it's got to be overwhelming. That's just where I lean. Other people might disagree. That's just kind of where I lean. I don't know if that's overwhelming. God, I don't know. No top 10 wins, one top 5 win. What I'll say here again is I still think Army's got a shot. It's not the most kind scenario to him, but I think they got a shot.
But why do they have a shot? It's because their wins are stacked 18, 19, and 20. Yes. And if they were the wrong side of that cut line, that has no shot.
100%.
That they are bringing just enough volume to the board in this scenario to have some kind of a case. All right, guys, I think the conclusion that we have come to in about an hour or so of messing with this is that it's going to be tough. Army is going to probably come to the selection show with a case. How strong that case is going to depend on what happens over the next, how long do we have left? 36 hours or so of games?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see. We don't have the final data, so we're just guessing at this point as to what that case is going to be. I'm going to hop off of here and let you guys call this or comment on this ACC game, and I'm sure the Ivy League game is probably about to get back going too. So if anything else crazy happens, I'm on standby. Just give me a shout, and we'll swing back by and talk about whatever else happened.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Thanks. I'll catch y'all on the flip side.
It's surviving a 2-man down situation, so it's 1 man down. They got the ball.
Yeah. This is an interesting thing. I'd love for anybody in the chat, to kind of weigh in on this. I feel like man-down defenses have gotten better with the number of. It feels counterintuitive, but I did run some of the numbers. Oh man, big goal for Cuse. That's a big swing. Absolutely, brother. Forget review. Thanks for tuning in for us. I feel like I ran some of the numbers, and the man-down defenses are a little better. At least if you just, I went by how many teams are over 80%, 75%, 70%. It's a little more in the last 2 years. Now, this year feels like just what we've been talking about. Defenses in general are just, better this year. But it was a little bit last year too. I just feel maybe it's do teams practice it more with how much more of it's more important if you're going to be on man down for 1 minute locked in, 2 minute locked in becomes more common now. I feel like you got to devote more attention to it. I don't know. I also kind of feels to me as if there hasn't been a lot of trying to think of how to man up offense still seems kind of very the way it's played. I don't think there's been a lot of like layers or new tweaks kind of added. It still feels very like even Notre Dame last year, who had probably the best man up offense maybe we've ever seen. The way it worked was still kind of pretty straightforward. They had a shooter up top in Dobson, who you had to press out to, but then they had Taylor on the crease, who you had to pack into, and they had Kavanaugh behind, who could pass to anybody. Like, how do you really? What do you really do with that? It's like pick your poison. Somebody's, it's not like they necessarily. They were again maybe the best ever, but they didn't really reinvent the wheel in how they ran men up. And I didn't feel like a lot of teams have really. I could be wrong. Maybe I don't know if there's been a lot of adjustments necessarily, just new tweaks added to how teams play men up. I always love to see. I don't know. Somebody put a poll out there. I just seem interesting. I remember Villanova did it years ago with John Clue. I think it'd be kind of interesting. I always said Towson should have done when they had Kobe Smith, because he was one of their best. He was one of their best offensive players. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a thought. KM makes the point. Penn State had a 3-minute man up yesterday against Maryland. And I don't think they got really a good look on goal the entire time. They had McNaney didn't make a save.
So, it was a great tweet of yours.
What's up?
I said that was a great tweet of yours that you threw out after that. It was like Penn State, 3-minute man up. It's like, Maryland survives. McNaney gets 0 saves. It's like they didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's kind of the story. Sort of the story of,
especially when you think of that Cornell game, which is like pretty much because of that.
Yeah, and the way Penn State was winning faceoffs, and Penn State could have put. If they get 2 out of that, they take the lead. They 8-7. Yeah. No, that was a tough one for Penn State yesterday. They won 18 of 22 faceoffs. They took like 20 more shots. Time of possession of that game was crazy. Maryland had the ball for 10 minutes in the second half. But as we look, it goes to show we all talk about a lot. Faceoffs are important, but if you get stops and Maryland got a bunch of them, your goalie can't make saves. You're winning faceoff. It doesn't matter. Especially in the tournament.
Chippy on the field there.
I don't know what Adam was saying it in our yard sale.
About to see some pushing. I think I'm a little bit ahead to you.
Oh yeah. Oh, flag.
Marching ordinaire on the field, grabbing them. This is great. Got the stream on the phone. Notre Dame he's on the big monitor. BU Lafayette on the big screen over here. 2-2. If Lafayette wins to pitch,
brother, is Pat Myers the best Myers?
Myers, yeah. M&M.
Pat Myers taking the crown of the family.
Yeah, they just have Selection Sunday at both teams that the Myers parents have. Ooh. KC, it's hot. They're just letting the camera linger.
You're a little ahead of me, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Big kill. Yeah.
It was like 10 seconds. I was like, whoa.
Big Kev. The cap is off.
That was a Newhouse graduate on the camera. Or like the producers, lock it. Just lock it.
I don't know. Adam was saying this in our chat. Not this one, our group chat. He was like, what did he say? He's like, Notre Dame is not playing well. They're losing a bunch of faceoffs, and they're only down 2. I don't know what to do with that. I feel like that's Notre Dame's entire season.
Yeah.
I don't think they played very well against Georgetown. They won a bunch of faceoffs in that game. They won by 1. I don't think they played great against Maryland and Atlanta, to be honest with you, except for the fourth quarter. But they won all the faceoffs. They lost by 1. Definitely don't think they played well against Ohio State at home, and they still almost won that game. They lost by 1. Yeah. I definitely don't think they played well against Penn last week, and they won by 2. I don't know what to do with them. Gil's got a good point. Yeah. Eventually, if going cold in the tournament on offense, especially in the shot clock era, someone's going to get you eventually. And especially if you run into a great defense. I mean, I don't know what I was asking Mark, kind of throwing it around. If they lose this game, where are they going? Because I think they're either last seed 8, or they're going on the road. And if they're going on the road, I think they probably go to like Penn State. I mean, what would you do with that? Notre Dame, Penn State, at Panzer? I don't know.
Penn State gets the face-offs like they did against Maryland, and against them. But their offense wasn't great the last showing.
Definitely. And their defense.
Because I don't know, like, if this team.
Their defense really wasn't good. I mean, considering how many possessions Maryland had.
Because imagine the efficiency even for Maryland's pretty high, given that he had many possessions as Penn State.
Oh, Corrigan being interviewed. I'm going to listen to this. God, that's beautiful. Sideline interviewing. He was like, we have better opportunities than they did in the last 10 minutes. No, Gil, he did not sound happy. He's like, we have better opportunities in those last 10 minutes than they did. We just didn't make ours. Perfect. It throws subtle shade at the other team, kind of implying that you're actually playing better. It still means you're just not happy at all with your team. And you answered one question and then got out of there. Perfect. A masterclass.
That's why he's actually the best.
Just it's an absolute masterclass of sideline interviewing by KC. Oh, perfect man-up offense by Cuse. So, to Mark's point, why was I asking? I don't want Maryland to see Notre Dame in the quarterfinals. I know all the points about – mostly it's because of – it's a couple things. It's – one – it's still Notre Dame with back-to-back titles, and we've seen them when they get hot. They're very good. 2, the face-off thing just kind of scares me. Maryland should have won that first game in Atlanta by 3 or 4 goals, maybe more. But Notre Dame stayed in the game because of the face-offs and then almost stole it at the end. Notre Dame, I don't know. There are other teams I'd rather see Maryland see more. I think there's a lot of teams, if you told me Maryland played them, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not really scared of that game at all. But I would not want to see them again. But Maryland could obviously win. They'd probably be favored.
I think if the same team that Notre Dame had last year was in this position, a few losses. I think in that scenario where you're fear, I could see that being much more justified. My point is that I think Notre Dame was as strong as we thought they were at the beginning of the season, but given the fact they're not kind of that super team and that depth that we've kind of said that's been a little bit missing, Leopards with a goal here to go up 1, that as the years progress, they're just kind of like a normal good team, Yeah,
no, I don't disagree. And
I kind of feel like Maryland's been better throughout the year. It's kind of had a little bit of a dip in the Big Ten play, but beating Penn State, avoiding the first round bye slump that Big Ten teams had. I know they haven't won it. They're going against Ohio State, but it's probably a fair chance of you guys winning, the record that Tillman has over Myers. Like, as a fans feel like, yeah, they had a bit of a bump, in conference play, but kind of more of an upswing. I just think, not that Notre Dame's crashing, but it's just like, kind of just like a slow, like downward trajectory from where they were at the beginning of the season. And when we kind of thought of them as like,
I don't just
odds-on favorite, but like, yeah.
I think all your points are correct. One, Faison had a great goal earlier. Just a split dodge, you got room. That shot right there looks like a shot of a guy who hadn't been shooting a lot. Just kind of time and room, shot it right into the stick of McCool. He changes angles literally at all. It's a goal. But this kind of marks point, like the game felt over when Maryland got up 3 in the fourth quarter. And if Luke Weirman's in that game is over. That game's comfortably over. I don't know. Look, on the flip side, it's Maryland in a quarterfinal, and Tillman's record in that is pretty exemplary for a reason. He's lost one, and the one he lost was that one. Cornell has the best offense in the country. I know. I love the adjusted efficiency stats from Zach. I love the way it's organized and presented. There's like any statistic, it's you have to take it not literal. I mean, there's always a pinch you have to do with some stats. You just kind of have to. And Notre Dame's, I think, is just inflated a bit through some games early in the season, and kind of the opponent. There's only how you weigh things adjusted efficiency wise stuff. It's like you can score 20 goals against anybody, your adjusted efficiency is going to be very good. It doesn't matter how bad the defense is. You score 20 goals, But Cornell's offense is it's not even a question. It's the best offense in the country. And I just don't know what you do to stop it. I mean, I was mentioned earlier, you can't really stop CJ Crosse off the dodge, but he plays off the ball better than anybody else too. So what's your point? We were having a fun time this week discussing Cornell and Maryland in our group chat, because I was mentioning just kind of the interest I've seen this year in the value of a top attackman this year feels less than it ever has. Just because the number of, teams that have that kind of player is not many. Obviously, if you look at North Carolina, it's hugely influential. But like Notre Dame with Chris Kavanaugh, I think Chris Kavanaugh is an awesome player. First, second, kind of in that sort of range. But I don't know that I feel like he is meaningful, like really elevating Notre Dame's ceiling. Kirst obviously is doing wonders for Cornell. So, but I was going to mention, like, if Maryland does win the tournament, I'm not sure I ever recall a team that won the tournament with. Not to be, not as knock on those guys. They're good players, but such a little star power on offense. I mean, they might not have one guy they might have like Spanos might like make an all honorable mention team. Matt Keegan maybe could make a third team midfield, all American midfield maybe, or honorable mention, but they don't have any like slam dunk obvious all Americans on that side of the ball. And so Adam was kind of mentioning, Adam Adams in the chat, he thought this was where they probably would get got by Cornell, is because eventually you just got to score goals. You got to keep up and score. And could Maryland really keep up and score with Cornell? And I was saying that's the one game where I don't feel. Now, I think the way we saw Cornell's defense against Yale, I think, look, Maryland could score goals like that. I do agree with that. But the other factor was what I was talking about earlier, is that we've discussed a bunch. The Maryland defense under Jesse Bernhardt, they're not reinventing the wheel. You know what it's going to be. They're going to cut off the head of the snake. Whoever the offense runs through, they're going to take that guy away. They did it last year in the tournament with Josh Sawada and Connor Schellenberger, and we've seen him do it at various points, this year. The problem for Cornell is that, one, I don't think you can take CJ Kirst away. Like, let's say you put Schaller on Kirst and Kirst doesn't dodge. Kirst is still going to be off ball. He's going to go set picks. He's going to go get in the slot. He's going to be open on the wing. And I just don't know if that strategy you have to try and shut off the main guy. Cornell doesn't really have a main facilitator. They share the ball so well that everybody is involved offensively. I mean, if we look up their, Long and Goldstein are both just super tough, guys to handle with how well they can pass. Like Cornell's got 3. Goldstein's their leading assist with 39, but Kirst has 22, Long has 22, Firth has 12. They've got a bunch of guys who can handle the ball. So I think it would be the hardest cover that Maryland would have. I mean, it's fascinating. Houston just kind of had Notre Dame's number this year.
Yeah.
And I feel after the last 5-6 years, I don't know. Mark asked counter. Penn State's defense did okay. You trust Penn State's defense over Maryland's? No, I would say one. I think that's early in the season. Great feed of the crease. All right, I'm not going on. I think that's earlier in the season. Alex Ross did do a great job on Kirst in that game, and I think Schaller is better than Alex Ross. So Ross is like the one guy who stayed in front of Kirst all year. So that's true. I mean, I'm not. I think for what Gil's point said, I think it'd be a great game. I think 2 pretty evenly matched face teams. McNaney's experience in May, I think, will definitely be a weapon. But how many tournament games played? Quietly, another record. McNaney is creeping up on John Galloway's all-time wins record. I think he's at like 56, 57. But that's just kind of my, read on it. I think Maryland, Princeton again. Go ahead, Sid.
No, I love what you're saying about Maryland because you are right. It does feel like I was just looking at just generically scoring offense on NCAA stats site, and if you go by goals, Maryland's probably like in the last quarter. But efficiency wise, they're
very efficient.
Yeah, definitely as opposed to the last couple of seasons, and nothing gets to the 2022 level or even 2021. But of the championship season 2017, just like a share underneath that, you're like right at the same clip as 2016. Is your defense, which has always been kind of amazing. This year's efficiency wise, again, maybe it's just numbers, but it's just kind of another level. It's 18.
What was the number offensive efficiency? What is the actual percentage this year compared to 20?
36.6. High watermark 41.7. The season 2022. But 2021 was really high, over 40% at 40.6. And then if you're kind of going in the descending order, championship season 2017 was 39.7. 2018, 37.7. This year, 36.6. And then right after that is 2020, 36.5, and 2016, 36.4. So NCAA title game appearance level, the efficiency is right on point. For the years you won, you're just a share, a hair better in 2017. And, obviously 2022 is his own thing. But yeah, I was just saying it's not the firepower, the stars for sure, but just sufficiently deadly.
So that's the thing I would say is it's definitely. I mean, look, it's they're top, they're 8th right now. So I would say it's definitely 20. The 2 championship years, you can tell 39.7 and 41.7. That's 41.7 with a bad last 2 games. That they dropped. It is closer to. It's fascinating. The 2017 unit is so much better than the 39.7 to 36.4 is a big jump. I always remember the 2016 offense as being better. I think that's just because.
Well, you had those. Yeah, Rambo, he cocked his Bash brother.
For sure. But 2017, you had Rambo and Heacock still. But is your point Heacock was hurt late in that year, and I always just remember that was the first Tillman team that was I can remember being super deep. Like they got Pat Young from UMBC, and he ran on the second midfield, and I think he had close to 20 goals. Tim Rotans, before he became, was on that second midfield line. I just remember them being very deep the year. And they had Brian Cole at the midfield, was a great pass. Like it felt super well rounded. The 2017 group being better, even though it was, like the 2017 group, I remember the whole story with them was one, they didn't have a face-off guy, and then two, they ran one midfield. And now granted, it was the midfield was like Kelly, Rotans, and Jared Bernhardt. So like,
I was just gonna say, was it?
That's a hell of a freaking first midfield. Cuse goes back up by 4. That was the year they had to like the Rambo and then
started
like
13 games that year for Bernhardt. Jesus Christ.
He was
That was so good.
100%. And that was the year Rambo and those guys like had to like tell him, Jared, like you need to shoot more. Because he would defer to those guys so much, and he would like pass. They're like, no, dude, like you need to be more aggressive. So we'll put a pin in this one. Gil asked, to Mark's point, actually, though, Logan will have, if Merrill makes the championship game, McNaney will have played in 4 national championship games every year of his that he was played the full season. He'll be the first since I would say probably a guy maybe Hopkins had a guy in the 80s. Research like that would be what I would look at. But in more recent years, I can't think of anybody who's played in 4. Let me think. What was Hopkins' best run of? Was it 3? That was their best run of championship games under Petro. They got like 03, they did 03 and 05, 05, 07, 08. But 05 was Schwartzman.
Yeah, Jesse.
And then 07 and 08 is 07, 08 is Gavosdin, right? Or who's 07?
No, Jesse's 07.
Jesse's 05 and 07?
Yeah, he's a 2-timer. That's why he's the greatest.
Okay.
Gavosdin was a freshman in 2008. Everyone was like, here comes Quink Jr. Petro, we got clipped by, I think, Syracuse in the Final Four in 2004. Because, we were titled in
Final Four, and then 06 was Syracuse in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, 06 quarterfinals. Yeah, that was when they kind of stomped us. I remember 04, we stomped it in the regular season, and they kind of turned it around, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's the legendary Hopkins? Larry Quinn. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, Larry Quinn did, yes. Larry Quinn played all 4 years and made the championship. Final in 82 and 83, won it in 84 and 85.
It used to be a proper university.
That was my fun thing. I mentioned it was in our group chat. I was like, listen, some teams are just like great at goalie. Like Maryland's great, Notre Dame's always great, Princeton's great. Now it's like those teams are just always great and they have great goalies. I'm like, then other teams, Duke, Hopkins, they're not, and so they don't. Then I was like, well, Hopkins had great goalie play for like 100 years, and then it just stopped. McCool's played. I'm trying to just think of what Syracuse is doing that's like really, giving Notre Dame problems this year. Offensively, it's a lot. McCool is just standing. McCool's just played phenomenal. He's been unreal today, and he was great in that game too. I think that's a lot of it. It just feels like just 2 games. Gil's got a good point here. Face-offs for sure. Yeah, they dominate face-offs in this game. Yeah, that's part of it. I think offensively a little bit too. I don't love Notre Dame shorties this year. I just think it's a lot of Syracuse always seems to struggle to initiate. Kind of and make things happen off the dodge. And Syracuse doesn't seem to have that problem against Notre Dame.
Oh my God! Challenge flag.
Corner's got a challenge. What are we challenging?
I think he thinks it went through the goal. Yeah.
I didn't. Oh,
oh my God! No, it went deflected off of McCool and the side of the net.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I don't really know about this one. Yeah, you never know what I mean, McCool's a redshirt freshman, so it's, a little different. You never know what you're going to get from those guys in the tournament. But if McCool could string 2 to 3 games like this together, Cuse is going to go far. Because he can rack up saves. So Gil was asking this earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Which team do you guys think would be the best matchup for Towson to pull an upset? Mark, I think, said Ohio State in the chat.
Carolina?
So Towson is 23rd offensive efficiency, and they've been a lot better. If you go now, granted, it's hard to say because difference in, up competition, but I felt they've played a lot better in CAA play. I know like the adjusted numbers maybe aren't quite as I think since they moved Weishart to attack, they've been better. Defensive efficiency, they are 41st, but a lot of this to me is down to the save percentage. Luke Downs Towson is 64th in adjusted save percentage. It's my honestly gut feeling is like it's going to be hard for any team to win a tournament game when you play like that. Like, your goalie needs to be great. Downs really struggled in the at the Dome last year. I thought that was a big difference in the game. That review did not need to take that long. What are we doing?
They're still doing it. Like, come on.
Maybe Penn State. Towson's beaten Penn State at Panzer before. Frasian himself is really struggling. Now, face-off play for Towson's face-off play is good. It's not done otherworldly, but it's good. I don't think they're going to get like dominated on face-offs in a tournament game. I would probably go Penn State, or I don't think they want to. I've seen Towson Cuse. That game's going to be the Dome. I'm not going to go with that one. Penn State would probably be my gut. Ohio State's another interesting one. Cuse going on the empty net. Ohio State and Towson. Final Four rematch from 17. Ohio State's got shooters against Downs. Maybe just because Ohio State's offense is probably not going to put a crazy number on the board. Like, Ohio State's probably going to beat you 10-6, 11, something like that. So maybe you go with that one just because you're always going to feel like it's within reach.
You're winning the game. Yeah.
If you just, kind of like we saw with Ohio State against Michigan. If you just string a couple goals together, it can. Ohio State was down in that. It felt like Ohio State was done in that game, but as we saw, they were only down 3. If you get hot, 3 goals is nothing. Now, Ohio State's defense obviously be very tough to score against, but I think it's probably one of those. Yeah, what I would say. Who do you think least wants to see Georgetown?
So they're going to be on the road?
They're definitely going to be on the road. They're going to be Georgetown. Some team 3 seeded top 5, probably 3 through 5 is going to get Georgetown.
Sorry. Just looking at it. Definitely not feeling good if they're playing Ohio State, because I think like they can do the nitty gritty thing and just grind it out like at 8-7. Not, like.
I think if I'm George, that's the matchup I want if I'm Georgetown.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
like
my Final Four pick doesn't want Georgetown.
Like Georgetown, Ohio State in a as you said, I mean that game's up. Kevin Warren is salivating at the idea of that.
No,
just two dudes in a phone booth punching each other in the face.
You remember when those British hooligan movies had a moment in the early aughts, like Green Street Hooligan and Football Factory, where there's always an end scene with like the two like firms, which is like have a all-out brawl in the street. I was like, that's what Georgetown.
It feels like that. What's that one movie with like Lakeith Stanfield and I forget the other guys, where they're just like complimenting each other aggressively.
Oh, I know exactly. Yeah, I use that as my Myers and Tillman whenever they see each other thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Ohio State feels a lot like that. Man, I love the way you play defense.
Oh, but they're arguing about like whose treat they would be for. No, I got it. I love that.
Ohio State doesn't have a lot of NCAA. I mean, how much NCAA tournament experience is on this Ohio State team? It's got to be guys who were there in 22, and that's not. I don't think a lot of them played that much there here. Van Buren might have. I think is Van Buren a senior? I think he might have played on that year. No, I don't think I don't know. Van Buren's either junior or senior. He might have been on that team. But yeah, because I think you can make an argument for. I don't think Georgetown will be able to score enough against Cornell. I know Cornell's defense might have. I don't think they'll be able to score enough in that one. Princeton, maybe, if Georgetown could win some faceoffs. I still think Princeton's probably a little too well-rounded and too strong physically, especially in that regard. And Princeton's got NCAA tournament experience. But I could see that one. Gilman's Carolina. The one thing I wonder with that one is, does Carolina just have an extra gear to put like 3 or 4 goals up in quick succession that Georgetown just can't match? Just one of those patented Carolina runs.
And it's like, if they don't have a guy who could actually shut down and contain young Petrov, like it could just one person going off for 4 or 5 and the other, get like 6 for the rest of the team could be enough. Like an 11 goal, North Carolina could be enough.
Yeah, I like their defense on it because you've got Ty Banks would take Duffy. That'd be a great matchup. And then Georgetown's support polls are always used, except for that one game where Schellenberger scored like 8 goals on him. Georgetown's second and third polls are always usually really strong, especially off ball. So I like that part of Georgetown against Carolina. I just don't know if they have an extra gear in them. It feels like Ohio State would be. Look, NCAA tournament experience would be big in that one, though. Georgetown a lot more than Carolina. So a young Carolina team. And Carolina's defense, which Petrov's done a great job with that unit, but maybe kick Georgetown get after a little bit. Either way, that's not the team you want to see in the first round, especially because I think their offense is coming around a little.
Anyone, unless you're like Maryland or Cornell,
and you're probably not going to play them because the one or two is not going to play.
And the rest of them, like, I don't think any of them want to. Like, here's your reward, hometown, home game against Georgetown, who's been so under the radar the entire season. They're probably loving it, God,
imagine this is the year. Imagine this is the year Georgetown makes.
That's why I'm just saying. If this is they break through, it just would be unbelievable.
And to your point, they're really young this year. It could change everything if they do it with a young team.
Ahead of schedule. Oh my God! Yeah, it just changes everything. It just makes so much.
Because the last couple years, I mean, it still mattered. Like Princeton did it with a really experienced roster, and you could tell that it's carried over. Like it's just kind of the other guys have come through, and maybe they haven't made a Final Four again in the last 2 years, but that experience is still there. I think Cuse has just about put this one away. So, man, credit.
You're so right about that Princeton team. Like they've been on time, given like more upperclassmen led team, but like that was still Yale's block. The Ivy. And I remember that quarterfinal game. Like, I don't think many had Princeton having a chance and them to break through. Yeah, big thing for the rest of the program, which is good stuff. I had confidence in the other 2 seasons, but they kind of started out slow, but made it through the Ivy League tournament the last 2 years.
But like Georgetown, the last couple of years, they had done it. Their rosters were so like grad transfer heavy experience. You could maybe say like, look, I mean, the only thing left for that program is to get to the Final Four, but they could have got to a Final Four in the last couple of years and maybe not carried it over, just because how much they've been losing. They definitely they got a young squad. I mean, they got guys in there for the next couple of years. Making a Final Four would be huge. McCool, man, God dang. He's played great. Credit to Cuse, man. Like it's everything Ryan said on Saturday. I don't think is incorrect still. I mean, the part of missing the tournament's off the table at this point. I think Syracuse is in with this win, unless freaking I don't know, absolute all hell breaks loose. Somehow Yale wins. I think Yale's done though. I think Cornell's wrapped that one up. But look, you lost 3 in a row. The knives were coming out. And does it change a lot about Syracuse? I don't know. I mean, I think this Syracuse team is still everything we've kind of said about them all year. I still think applies. When this team's really, really good, man, they're as good as anybody. They're as good as anybody. I think Mark just probably put it best here. They're like every other team, 4th through 12th. They're a contender. Could Syracuse make the Final Four? Yes. Could Syracuse lose in the first round? Also, yes. But it's good to not let it snowball, is what I would say. And we've mentioned Syracuse, how they struggle playing with adversity. Well, they had adversity here, maybe not in the game, but they had adversity losing these last 3 games and everything. And I'll say this for Notre Dame and Syracuse: it is the one ACC rivalry that genuinely does have some, there's some heat there. There's some rough around the edges. Sometimes with these ACC games, it's like these teams do not like each other. I'm like, really? Are we sure? I don't know. But Syracuse and Notre Dame, I'm confident, do not like each other. So yeah, I'll give credit to Cuse for. I think Ryan's going to join us here in a little bit. Give Cuse credit on this regard. And Notre Dame. If we said Cuse would go 2-3 in top 10 games and switched up the order, I wonder how we view Cuse. I think they're a really good team. That's interesting. Yeah, if they maybe just like won a lot of them, like if they'd lost a lot of them and then won the back end, or if they just kind of like alternated win loss. That's an interesting point. I'll say I do. I think depending on the bracket, I honestly think Cuse. I mean, I kind of liked that idea about them being in that bracket with Ohio State and Penn State. I don't know. I just think having to. I think having to like kind of trial by fire feels like it might be good for this team.
Mm.
I feel like if you put them on the road and just like, hey guys, this whole thing about you guys being on the road, you need to go kill it right now, the first round. Like go win right now. I think that would have been interesting. We'll see. They're probably gonna get a home game after this. And look, home game for them in the Dome first round. Who are they gonna get? Harvard if they get through, probably. I think that's a good matchup for them. So we'll see. Notre Dame, yeah. I mean, Notre Dame is Mark's still in the chat. I think Notre Dame is probably 8th at best. Because you got they could definitely go on the road. Maryland, Princeton, Cornell, Ohio State's ahead of them. That's 4. North Carolina, I think, is going to be ahead of them. That's 5. Maybe if North Carolina loses to Duke, you could have like 6, 7, 8, 9 as all ACC teams. But Penn State's going to be ahead of Notre Dame, I think. Syracuse is going to be ahead of Notre Dame. I think it's 8th or on the road. And Notre Dame hasn't been on the road in the tournament since. God, here we go. This is a throwback for you. The last time Notre Dame went on the road in the tournament, because remember they missed in 22, but they were home. I guess 2021 they didn't. 2021 was that weird year where only certain teams got home games, but they were seeded that year, and they still played at home in the quarterfinals. 2019 they were home. 2018 they were home. They lost to Denver. 2017 they were home. 2016, 2015, 2013 they were. 2012 they were. What about 2011? I think the last time Notre Dame went on the road in the first round was 2010. Yes. The last time Notre Dame played a road first round game of the tournament was 2010. That's a
They made the tournament that year? Was that the
2010 was the
or not did they make the tournament game that year?
yeah, that was the Scotty Rogers year. They went all the way and played Duke.
I was gonna say, wow.
Cornell,
Barry, and Yale, 21-14, minute left.
Jesus, football. NFC, it's an NFC East football score.
Wow.
Mark, yeah, in 2010, Notre Dame made it. Yeah, that was Notre Dame made the national championship 2010, 2014. They lost and then won it the last 2 years. Gotcha, bro. Yeah.
When's the start of the Ivy League title?
1 o'clock, I want to say. I think. Are you mentioning because of when Princeton Harvard's gonna?
Princeton's not gonna get done. Potentially, if there's a weather delay before midnight. It's
How much time is left? How much time is left in that Cornell?
It's like a minute left, but should be quick. Cornell just.
All right, so let's say 9. It's gonna be 9 o'clock before that game starts.
Right, they got to get it in like 20 minutes.
It's gonna start at 9. Let's say 2-hour game is 11:15. They're gonna get on the. It's gonna take them 30 minutes to get off. It's gonna take them 30 minutes to get on the bus. 30-minute, but they're not gonna get home till like 1 o'clock. Or I mean, by home I mean the hotel. Yeah. Yeah.
And we, I'm just thinking of always our conversation about the Final Fours. What was that at Maryland year, right? 2022, right?
Wasn't 22 was the year that there was the big weather delay. Maryland Princeton didn't finish until like 9 o'clock-ish at night. Then they got back home 11, 12, and then I remember that Sunday. I'll never forget that Sunday. Just felt like, it's like, so Maryland might have a guy hurt. And it's like actually Maryland might have multiple guys hurt. Actually,
like 4 guys on IV. One guy's got a cast.
He's got a cast.
Just like a mash unit that game against Cornell. Yeah, someone's got to do something. But even, you can't have too much of a delay, even if you wanted to. I mean, I guess you could because Selection Sunday is not 9:30 for the guys. So. They should play it at 5 on Sunday, and then just like hot off the presses. There's one more run through the formulas.
I guess to Gil's point about if you change the order of Syracuse wins, Notre Dame has basically had that season where they've just like yo-yoed back and forth, and I don't know that it's left. I don't know that it's left us thinking Notre Dame is better than Cuse, just as much as we feel kind of perpetually confused about them, and we just kind of like, well, it's Notre Dame. I don't know. All these ACC teams are the same, man. Like I don't know that any one of them are better. I don't think any one are better than the other. I think. God, who's got the best A game of the ACC teams?
I mean, what do you mean by that? Like,
so when each team is playing their best
at the peak,
who is
whatever.
Who is the best of the ACC teams?
guess North Carolina this year.
Maybe. I think it might be Cuse, to be honest with you. The Cuse that's played Notre Dame these two games, this is the Final Four team, the one we've seen these two games. The face-off play, the way McCool plays in goal, they've done it offensively. Like this Syracuse team, the one we've seen is the Final Four team.
This one on the field now, yeah.
Yeah. Now the Carolina team we saw in the Dome, I think that was Carolina's best game.
That was it.
They played in the Dome. I thought Carolina looked pretty damn vintage in that game too.
That road game against Duke was pretty good. Tough.
Notre Dame's best game is probably the one against Duke. Oh, I mean the second half against Carolina. I think it's the second half against Carolina, but the first half they scored one goal.
That's really bad one for Carolina, but because I actually think Notre Dame like one more like top 5-ish win. They kind of have almost the same resume as Princeton. Because you got the Carolina Duke win. Princeton has the Carolina Duke win.
Oh, no, man. I think we're getting a caller from Levittown.
From the island, coming in hot.
Ryan McDonald here on the College Cross live show.
Liberation Day Part 2. Even more liberated.
Well, good news. I'm not looking for Gary Gay to be replaced anymore.
You always had faith.
Look what changes. Just like the stock market, so much can change in 1 week.
Ryan just turns to Nick Saban. He's like, the standard is the standard. I can't do anything about the standard. They just weren't meeting it. Now they are meeting it. I'm much happier.
But look, yeah, they're not ending the season on a how many game losing streak are they going to be up to now? 4 or 5 game losing streaks. So no, I really aside from the clown car that final minute was. I really liked what I saw out of the Orange tonight. That's another very good effort. The preparation was great. That was my big critique of the past 2 weeks was preparation. Got him out of the gate. And I think just as importantly, got him out of the weather delay. Because that's definitely a place where that could have derailed. So, look, breathing a lot easier for Sunday now, because the bid steal is happening in the Patriot League. But it's really going to come down to that Harvard-Princeton game, I'm guessing, on the bubble. If Harvard pulls off the upset, I don't really think we're going to have much of a bubble, right?
No, I mean, yeah, it's maybe there's our Harvard-Army conversation. I think Cuse is – I mean, if Harvard wins, it's over.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. If Harvard beats Princeton, it's over.
Yeah,
right?
Harvard beats Princeton, it's over. Face-off is 9:02 for Duke and Carolina. KM
probably be the same time for Harvard Princeton. Yeah, they both basically
ended simultaneously. Lafayette up 5-4.
Lafayette, jeez, the Leopards pull this
Leopards! Off. Leopard time. Man.
I never thought the Leopards would eat my face.
I guess a leopard can change his spots. There you go. Here, Lafayette.
If you're liking these puns and callbacks to Twitter classics, hit that like button.
And subscribe.
Yes, hit that subscribe button too. So looks like our good friend Mark has a new cheat sheet up.
All right, let me find that. But yeah, it's I don't think we're Mark has Syracuse locking in. Yeah, I don't at this point, I feel like that's pretty likely. They're probably gonna get a home game. Maybe not. If Harvard
it depends on what Harvard does. But I mean, that's big. Obviously with the Army loss, they avoid going to Mikey, but avoiding having to go to Penn State would have been big. I mean, we'll see what's what when the dust settles, but
all right, here we go. So you've got locks: Maryland, Princeton, Cornell, Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Duke, Syracuse. There's one spot left, and it's going to be Harvard is in if they win, and it doesn't matter after that. Harvard loses, and We didn't talk about Richmond at all in this. When we did, obviously, Safe Mark and I did like an hour breaking all these scenarios, and we didn't talk about Richmond. If they lose, we might, have to kind of look into that a little bit. Should Harvard lose? I don't know. I think Harvard probably is fine, but I would definitely not feel comfortable if you lost. Mark makes this point. Syracuse first. It always means that Syracuse has to play that last game, and that just doesn't do great stuff for the television windows.
Well, the reason is because they have graduation at the.
No, I know the reason. I know the reason. I know why it happens, but you usually wind up with the last game being Syracuse just beating somebody by like 6 goals, and it was always terrible when they were like the number 1 seed because it'd be freaking Syracuse versus Siena at 7:30 instead of a really good game. So, but I don't know. I mean, they'll play. Oh, goal for BU! Wow. Yeah. They'll probably play Harvard again. That'd be the game, I guess.
That's. I'm assuming both. Because if Harvard's out of a home game, I think they're going to get whoever is the last team in with Harvard or Army with travel considerations. I mean, Princeton's going to be too highly seeded to send Army.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that's just right on 287. But that's it. Princeton's going to be too far up. But even if they lose tonight, I don't see them falling any further than 3.
Yeah. So you've got Princeton.
Unless Ohio State wins the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But even still, I don't see them sending Army to the number 4 seed if they're the last team in. Well, they might have to with how things shake out. No, they'll probably send the Patriot League champ. They'll probably send the Patriot League champ to the 3 or 4, probably to Princeton. Yeah, they'd send the Patriot League champ to Princeton instead of Ohio State.
They've sent BU. They've sent BU to Princeton before, so that.
Yeah, that happened in 2022.
And then you'd have
Lafayette's right there to Princeton. It's right across the Delaware River.
So that would happen. Towson would go to. Mark's mentioned this one. Now you never know what the NCAA is going to do. I think Google Maps has Georgetown to Ohio State at 399 miles. So by a hair, that would work, and you could send Georgetown to Ohio State, and you could send Towson to Penn State, and then you send Richmond to Carolina, which that'd be a humdinger of a first-round game. Or if where it gets really messy is if High Point, because then. And
High Point's been looking frisky lately. Not just with the win yesterday.
They lost to St. Bonaventure.
They lost it. But, that's 2 wins against St. Joe's, yes, with a St. Bonaventure loss sandwich in between. But they beat UMass in the regular season in Amherst, too. So,
any chance Harvard hosts, if they beat Princeton?
Yeah, sure. Harvard. If Harvard wins the Ivy League tournament,
if they beat Princeton, they're safely in.
So, would they make Notre Dame go to Cuse?
No, they're not going to do. They're not going to do an ACC.
As Mark just said, they have to avoid ACC matchups. So there's going to be a couple ACC Big Ten Challenge or ACC.
They might send Notre Dame to Harvard, because that was I remember a couple weeks ago. Harvard at Notre Dame was a matchup.
Well, Harvard's got the airport with Boston Logan, so you could kind of send anyone to Harvard if you need to do a flight.
Rather play Georgetown or Notre Dame at home, Ryan?
Not going to happen because of the AC, because there'll be a 2-time rematch. But the way that the Orange have been looking against Notre Dame, they've got something cooking. Obviously, it was a 2-goal win, but it was really a 4-goal win. The circus at that last minute was. I don't think really the final score line is a bit
No, the one I saw that could happen is Notre Dame might have to go to Penn State. I mean, it depends how it shakes out, but there could be a world where Notre Dame goes to Penn State.
Yeah, that would require Penn State to have to be a 6 or 7, right?
Yeah, because Notre Dame, Ohio State feels. If we figure Ohio State's going to be what if they win, obviously,
if they win, they could go up to 3.
They could go up to.
I don't think they jump Maryland. I don't think they jump Cornell.
I think they bump Princeton. I think it'll go Cornell.
If Princeton beats Harvard, if Princeton beats Harvard, though, they got another top 10 win.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how the cut line shakes out there.
But if we're assuming Ohio State beats Maryland, then wins the Big Ten. Like, that's a better win than Princeton's got.
Well, if Maryland has a bad loss to Rutgers and Ohio State beats them, that could jump for Ohio State, maybe. I don't know, just because Ohio State has a bad loss themselves, though.
I think the worst Maryland could fall is being jumped by both Cornell and Princeton if Princeton wins the Ivy. That's the worst case scenario for Maryland. I don't think Ohio State could jump them, though.
No, exactly. I think we'll go. Right, Cornell wins the Ivy. Maryland loses to Ohio State. Maryland's number 2 seed. Ohio State made 3rd. Princeton 4th.
It could, yeah. Princeton's got 5 top 10 wins right now. Sorry, Princeton's got 5 top 20 wins. Ohio State has 5. Princeton's got 3 top 10. Ohio State has 2.
Maryland, that's a win that Princeton doesn't have, or it's a team that a common opponent that Princeton lost to.
Yeah,
that avenges Maryland loss to Ohio State had.
They could, yeah.
If you didn't have that Utah loss, and the only losses they had this year were Maryland.
The Utah loss.
That's the thing. The Utah loss.
That would have been a number 1 seed if they did everything what they did now and have a Utah win and potentially beat Maryland. That'd be a 1 seed. But without.
So, I mean, let's just run through it. If Maryland wins, I know Cornell could finish 14-1. Maryland's wins would just be. They literally have like 75% of their wins would be top 10. I mean, it's just I just don't think you're overcoming Maryland's wins.
Really compete. They got Cornell's wins are Princeton and Richmond at 2 and 9. It may be a little different now, but Maryland has 2. Princeton doubled up. Penn State at 4. They got Notre Dame and they got Ohio State and they got Richmond. So they got all the wins that Cornell has and a bunch in between as well for the top 10 wins. And the Syracuse win, because they could be Syracuse too. So, 3 of the Cornell's 3 top 10 wins, Maryland has those same 3 top 10 wins with a bunch of other ones.
Yeah, so that's not happening. If Cornell wins the Ivy League and Maryland loses, Cornell's going to be the 1 seed. The wins will be the point, but you're just not 3 losses to 1 is too. That's just 3 losses to 1 is not. If Maryland's going to have Princeton covered either way, I think. I just think that head-to-head's not going to be – I don't think – so Princeton wins the Ivy League, and – okay, so here's
Ohio
the weird –
State wins the Big Ten.
That's the scenario. What do you do there?
Princeton wins Ivy League, Ohio State wins Big Ten?
Yeah, what do you do?
I think Maryland maybe gets the 1 there.
Stays 1.
Princeton 2.
Ohio State 3.
Ohio State 3, maybe?
Yeah, I think Ohio State's limit is 3. I don't think they got enough juice
I don't think it gets
Maryland for sure. Maryland's number 1 seed to lose. And Cornell
has that Princeton win too.
But Princeton would get it back if they won the Ivy.
Yeah.
So, I think that – I mean, if it's – that's crazy. I mean, 4 – you could honestly make an argument for, any of those 4, maybe. It'd be so Gil mentioned in the chat, it would basically be like 2013 where Syracuse had like 3 losses and got the 1 seed. Notre Dame had 4 losses and got the 2 seed. This was also the year that the top 4 seeds.
Cornell was unseeded.
Cornell was unseeded, made the Final Four. The top 4 seeds, me and Mark were talking about this last night, in 2013 were a Big East team, an ECAC team, and an ECAC team.
That ECAC tournament was the biggest banger ever. Loyola, Denver, and Ohio State. Man.
The top 4 seeds.
That was well worth the throughway tolls to go and see that in Geneva.
Oh, yeah. That was the top 4 seeds in were Syracuse, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Denver. And then I think the best seed an ACC team got was 5. I think Carolina was. Yeah, Carolina's 5 because that was your Carolina blew that lead in Lucas Oil to Denver. Yeah, Gil says
yes. Yeah,
Carolina
UNC was the 5. Maryland was 6. Duke 7.
Maryland was 6, and the reward was going to play Cornell.
That was back when it was the Rangers Capitals series of college lacrosse. It was like clockwork.
Yeah, man. Every year. Have fun with Rob Pennell. Thanks, man. If Ohio State loses, I think Carolina can get to 4. Because if Carolina wins the ACC,
yeah, they beat Duke and Syracuse. That's 2.
Carolina's going to be in the top. Carolina's going to jump Ohio State if Carolina wins the ACC and Ohio State loses.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, a Duke win and a Cuse win would be some good big ticket.
But like, let's say Duke wins. If Duke wins the ACC, it's probably
5 for Duke.
Yeah, because Duke would get 4 top 10 wins. So I think the ACC, yeah, they have 4. Again, Miwish mentioned it. There's a chance it's an ACC just like mosh at like
5 through 9-ish.
Yeah, I mean, if Syracuse,
the whole back end of the seeds could be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could crazy there. Penn State is the
weird depending
team.
On what Harvard does.
Penn State is the weird team to watch because in all these simulations we ran, Penn State basically just did not budge from 4. But they only have 1 top 10 win. Penn State's wins do not compare to these other teams. Like, they've got 1, Carolina's got 2, Cuse has 2, Ohio State's got 2, Duke's got 2, and we're just talking like if these teams just rack up more. But Penn State is just staying fixed in that top 5 in RPI, and I guess you could drop them to 7. You could go from 4 to 7. That wouldn't – basically you could kind of just flip Ohio State and Penn State. But, yeah, if you go back historically, the committee never deviates more than 4 spots in RPI. What? BU missed an RPI. So 7 feels like where Penn State would probably wind up at.
Yeah, average RPI loss is just lovely, really. Ohio State double up losses to Maryland and Princeton lost like that's, and the only team to tag Cornell. That's kind of just carrying them through.
Yeah, no bad losses, but could have added another big win or 2.
They got the one. They got the Cornell one. It's like literally the most important
that helps. Yeah, they got the Cornell one. So
yeah, and that's just that's a number for because their next best win is Michigan.
Yeah.
Now, right now they do have at the moment they do have 6 top 20 wins because Yale is 19, Colgate's 17. So it's kind of staying there at the moment. All right, I want to look at this Richmond-Harvard thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm going to stick around another 20 minutes, but let's talk about the Richmond.
So let's say that Harvard loses to Princeton.
Mm-hmm.
Richmond loses to High Point. Let's say Carolina beats Duke.
Do we have to check off is a Q for the High Point Richmond one?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Good point. I didn't do that when we were doing the simulations earlier. Let's say North Carolina beats Syracuse. And are there any other really pertinent results? If anyone else everyone in the chat, we're crossing 2.5 hours. So again, smash the like button. Thank you guys. We've had a lot of fun tonight. Any other games? But if anyone in the chat wants to shout out results they want plugged in here, we'll do it.
Strength of record. Okay. Yeah.
Any other results we want to plug in here?
I don't think the Big Ten would mess up anything with that, right? Because
no, let's just help.
Yeah, neither of them play them.
Richmond played
beats Princeton, and maybe that makes.
Yeah, because Richmond lost to Cornell, so maybe that would help them. I don't know, but
so
we'll just
Cornell beats Princeton. Yeah,
we got Duke winning over North Carolina. Maybe reverse that.
Well, I'll do both. So I'll do both.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, no, you're right. Because Richmond played Duke. Okay, so I'll do that, and then I'll say Duke beats Cuse.
Yeah.
So
Duke Maryland over Ohio State too.
Okay. Yeah. So just give Richmond all the loss. Yeah. Just.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's just try and help them out.
That's an AQ for them. So.
All right, let's RPI. Richmond is ahead of Harvard.
Ooh.
Head to head.
And they're ahead of Army.
Yeah. Let's do Richmond. One top 10 win for Harvard, 4 top 20. Richmond would have 3. Yeah. Harvard, Colgate is not a bad. And Richmond would have a bad loss. Oh, High Point. Yeah. All right. If High Point's not getting the top 20, Richmond's cooked. So I'm not seeing that for them. What if Richmond wins? I'm just talking about let's say Richmond wins. What does their RPI do? They climbed to 6.
6. Oof.
That's right on. We talk about that +/- 3 spot rule. That's right on the edge.
They might be in the hunt for the 8 seed. Yeah.
Yeah. If Richmond could.
They're getting a home game.
If they're 6 in RPI, they're 13-3. They're right on the. Now again, this is the charitable situation that gives them all of their. But let's see. They'd be behind these 5. Carolina and Cuse. Let's see the head-to-heads. Richmond, North Carolina. I don't think they're getting that one. But could they get Cuse? Two top 10. I don't know. It would probably just be the RPI. UNC, Cuse, Notre Dame, all of their wins, but 6 in RPI is pretty high. You're giving yourself a shot with that one. All right, I think we've just figured out that Richmond probably does not have a chance of getting in that large, just because
if they lose the High Point.
With the High Point, so it's probably down to Harvard and Army. And again, I don't think there's. We played around with some scenarios for Army. I think Safe's point about Syracuse losing probably did him a bit more in those sort of 3-way scenarios. But
yeah, because now that Syracuse wins even better for Harvard now after tonight, right?
Exactly. Lifts Harvard's boat, the better Syracuse does. I don't think. Yeah, I don't want to say there's no chance, but Army's.
No, yeah, I don't think it's no, but I think it's getting tougher.
It's getting late early, as Yogi said.
I guess the one thing I'll say, and this is not a criteria. It doesn't matter when you beat teams. It just matters that you beat them. This is true. Army could still pick up UNC as a top 5 win. That could help.
Yeah.
Harvard ain't really done anything in a while. And again, it doesn't matter when I'm like Harvard's best win was in February. And again, it doesn't matter. Like your wins are your wins.
Yeah.
But if the committee is sitting here and like we're doing it and I don't know if they are, if they're just trying to like poke at these teams. Yes, it doesn't matter when you beat teams, but are you playing your best now? And I think you could maybe for Harvard. Mark's a good point. Army done well? Not a lot. I get either.
The Carolina game was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
The Carolina, it's like a month, I think.
A month ago. More recent than Harvard.
They also did beat Colgate after that, which was
they beat UNC actually the end of March was the UNC game.
End of March, and the Colgate game was the week after. When did they beat Lafayette?
Yeah.
When did they beat Lafayette?
They beat Lafayette in March 1st.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Lafayette just tied it up, by the way. 7-7. Hey, guys, did anyone on this podcast pick Colgate as his dark horse team back in early February?
A couple of us, didn't we?
It was me.
Yeah.
You picked Ohio State.
Wasn't my dark horse the
yours was
my
Harvard.
My dark horse is right in the middle of all these conversations right now.
Harvard.
It was a great preseason. It was a great preseason of picks. Harvard hasn't done anything since being Dartmouth.
Yeah, it's they're Yale and thank you, Mar. I will pat myself on the back. I don't know. I'm just poking. I'm just throwing darts at the wall here. We're just kind of saying. By the way, it's got to be mentioned. Army having the whatever that like brick or not brick, but like retaining wall just on the other side of the field is just a horrible broadcast view.
Yeah, they're trying to play the games while they're renovating.
Yeah,
but it's like
it's honestly worse than Ohio State's massive gray wall on the other side because at least Ohio State has some seats over there, to kind of block it off. This one's terrible.
Yeah, and it's ruining the greatest view one of the greatest views in college football because that's the side that faces the Hudson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
We'll say though that Syracuse, that Army's loss also prevents me from if Syracuse was going to be at West Point and they were playing next Saturday, I would have gone up for it. So now I don't have to suffer watching Syracuse lose the first round game.
Great point. Like who would want to watch? That's bad. Not good. Lafayette's never played in the Patriot League Championship, have they?
Let me see. Is there a Patriot League lacrosse?
I'm tweeting out and firing from the hip.
Let's see. They have men's lacrosse. Oh, I think we have past championships. No, they have never played it. The first tournament was in 2004. So Lafayette was never a regular season champion. They have never played in a Patriot League tournament final either. So that would be their first if they win. Yeah, Patriot League tournament started 2004.
Has there ever been famous coaching brothers that made the tournament at the same time? I'm trying to think of brotherly coaches. That's coaches.
I'm trying to think of brothers that have been coaches.
You had uncle and nephew with Bill and Seth.
Sure.
True.
Tyrannies.
Tierney's no. Yeah, I
Don't
can't.
think Mattalong and Loyalist Charlie Tomey are brothers?
What? Like in law?
I said coaches' brothers lacrosse Division One. In Google AI said several Division One lacrosse coaches are brothers. Two well-known examples are Kristen Mattalong and Loyalist Charlie Tomey.
What?
God, Google AI is such
We gotta talk to the
trash.
Google boys. They're like, yo, what's going on here? Are you sure?
Google
Oh,
AI.
the other day, my co-teacher was putting together, a slide for our class, and it was googling, Chinese flag, and the top two results were absolutely not the Chinese flag. It's like Google might have out of all the terrible AI things out there, Google AI might take the cake as the absolute worst.
That's good.
It's incredible.
But, I'm going to thumbs down on this one.
Yeah, I don't think it's true. I don't think I could be wrong, but
Was this hopeful? No, it was not. And then he said, yeah.
Not at all.
that was just no. Not one bit. No, I don't think there's ever. I can't think of any other like brothers who are coaches.
I'm thinking that.
Roy Simmons Sr. and Roy Simmons Jr. No. Yeah.
I can't even think how the Simmons are the only like father and son, right?
I could think of. I mean, potentially Danowski if he comes home to the island, Ryan, and the younger one takes over Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it. I can't think of. No, I can't think of any other ones.
It's not the family affair that other college sports are, that's for sure.
No, yeah, it's kind of interesting, honestly.
Mm.
Especially when you consider how kind of close-knit lacrosse is. You'd kind of expect, I think, more. I feel like you'd expect it more often.
All right, I am going to duck out, but I'll let you guys continue rolling.
Think about it.
Gonna be a late night. I mean, who knew that you could have thunderstorms simultaneously in Ithaca and Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean and tomorrow I know Towson already moved up. Mark, the second ACC game starts in. Can I find it? Goodness, come on, there we go. Oh my God, just trying to type on my keypad with one hand. The second ACC game starts in like 5 minutes. I feel like the Ivy always goes late. Now, normally it's because I think they started late. Like they would start at
like 5.
Yeah. Like I remember a Harvard Brown game one year that felt like it went.
And of course, remember next week, whatever game North Carolina or Duke has will have a lightning delay. It's like clockwork. The games in the Raleigh-Durham area always have a lightning delay.
You got it, Gil.
Gil, I'll agree with you because I cannot stomach the Canes.
Did they announce a TV schedule for that, Ryan?
If the Jets win tonight, Canes cap starts Sunday. If not, it does not start Sunday. Extremely helpful, I know.
So I guess it'll start Monday then?
Let me just see the NHL public relations.
I mean, why would it start any later than that?
Because it's the NHL.
Are they just not going to play a game on Monday?
I mean, well, there's two series in the East and one in the West that are all ready to go.
Yeah, like what? Like, you got to play them. And the Caps and Canes finished their series pretty quick. I think they finished the quickest. They won them in.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just put them on Sunday afternoon. I mean,
yeah, they probably should.
Safe about once a year gets like very close to the ice seats at Flyer games. You can confirm that. Yeah, Mark was asking, do you like ice lacrosse? Where we're saying you about once a year you get pretty good seats to Flyer games.
Oh, I did that one time. It was like great, like literally on the glass seats.
The Flyers suck, so Safe doesn't like it.
Jake, as you know, I'm a long-suffering Philly fan.
Seriously, man, we have to do something about this 10-man ride situation. This is just
it's a pandemic now at this.
It's almost the opposite of years past where we were like clearing it just with the national security issue.
Yeah, now everyone's good. They're just
bombed away. Yeah.
Somebody is going to lose an NCAA tournament game because of the 10-man.
Oh my God, dude! Could you imagine? If Hopkins, Virginia, or Syracuse lost an NCAA tournament game because of the coach running a 10-man ride and giving up a goal, the boards would be putting out like arrest warrants.
The service would be crashing.
Can you imagine Johns Hopkins losing an NCAA tournament game because they ran a botched 10-man ride?
Oh God!
Like the fan lax would crash for a month. The saber would just go apoplectic. Gil, I agree that Rutgers was the worst I saw until I saw Villanova last night. Were y'all awake for that?
Okay, how in the world did Villanova win that game? I went to bed, Providence was up. I wake up to the DM about the worst 10-man ride in history by Villanova. Then I checked the score, and Nova won by 2.
Dude, Providence scored. Somebody in the chat will probably have the exact number. Providence scored 5 or 6 goals in the fourth quarter. Half of them were off the 10-man ride. It was,
and they lost.
Yes, like literally every possession would be Villanova scores. Providence wins the face-off and goes to clear. Scores on the 10-man. Villanova scores. Providence goes and scores on the 10-man. It was.
And I repeat, Providence lost?
It was comical. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Villanova could have won that game by 5 or 6. Villanova had like a 5-goal. Villanova was up 13-8. They were up 13-8 going to the fourth quarter. And it was comedy. To answer AF Health's question, I have nothing against a good 10-man ride. A good 10-man ride's great. I don't like teams who are absolutely awful at running it, running the 10-man ride. Because I'm pulling my hair out. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you? The reason you run the 10-man ride is because you're so good at it that it is an actual problem for your opponent. That it gives you an advantage in the clearing game. Mark's a great point. UVA ran the 10-man. Did Carolina run the 10-man? Carolina was their attackman would just hound you. And they were just, I don't know if Carolina ran the 10-man. They might have, but like UVA and Notre Dame's had like probably the best 10-man. I would say, because you never get anything through on them. UVA really ran the most extreme full field. And for UVA, it worked great but UVA, we saw that Richmond game where it felt like Richmond was just beating the 10-man every time down and getting scoring opportunities. And UVA stopped running it. Like, they were just like, well, this isn't working. It's not helping us, so we'll stop. Well, they kind of brought it back at the end of the year, and they were better at it. And it gave them juice. But, like, if you're not good at running it, then don't run it. I don't get it.
Real quick before I head out, first off, like and subscribe.
All right, I'll be right back.
Just real quick, Jake, tomorrow night's Power Hour, or when do we, just to kind of hype that up for tomorrow, I guess, hit the notification button because we're going to determine.
I thought we were just doing it Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing tomorrow,
Sunday night.
But we'll do it Sunday.
Okay, so no Power Hour. See you Sunday with the, Jake and Safe will most likely be running the show at Selection Sunday because I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning the next day. And this is my old man on a couch thing. 9:30 is too darn late for the Selection show.
It's un-American. It's legitimately like
the bracket is going to be made at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Release it the second the Ivy League goes final.
No, it's all that like, come on. Unbelievable.
But on that note, I'll leave it back to the Jake and Safe. They'll bring you home. Stay hydrated, everyone. Thanks again for watching. And stick around, though. They're still going. I'm just ducking out. So have a good night, y'all. Jake and Safe. Good chatting as always.
Very right.
That's probably two before I go. Yeah, Mark, they got to go from Ithaca to Hartford. So, I mean, do it like, I mean, Jim, for the longest time, Jim Nance was still in Indianapolis when they had the Big Ten championship game going on. They were still getting their takes for Selection Sunday. Just do it in Ithaca. Do it live. Make it picturesque. Do it in the gorges. But otherwise,
you with a tough.
I'll duck out. Jake and Safe.
Right.
Take it away.
So it looks like Duke, North Carolina just started. Duke up 2-0. Let's see, Princeton, Harvard's going after it. Yes, Princeton, Harvard started. Can't tell if the had a first face off. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, about to have the first one. So that's about kicking off. So we at least got the late game started. Going to be interesting here. I wonder if Harvard could like make a upset, turn this around, like upside down in terms of the Ivy seeding and stuff like that. It'd be really interesting. Crosse RPI. Doing the stream via my phone, so I can't share what I'm looking at on my screen. But if you're looking at the current RPI for pursuant to lax reference, updated 9:05. Maryland number 1, Princeton 2, Cornell 3, Penn State 4, Carolina 5, Houston 6 still. So Houston still pretty high, unless that's Houston 6. Big win for them. Ohio State at 7, Duke at 8, Richmond at 9, Notre Dame at 10, Harvard's 11, and Army kind of stuck there at 12. So depending on how BU does here, that could also drop BU a little bit because you have Lafayette at 27 RPI. So I think Lafayette winning may drag BU into potential bad loss territory, which could also be like a difficult position for Army to be in.
All right, I'm back.
Outstanding. No, just reading over the most recent RPI, with the and the Cornell including.
Oh, Duke is wearing black, blue. Oh, gross. One thing with Syracuse going with the white helmets and all navy, but
I kind of like at least the jersey. Georgetown's the crisp white ones they had. Wasn't that bad?
Georgetown's white jerseys are great. Yeah,
they're
awesome. Yeah, Georgetown's colors are white, like white and
gray, right? That's like a match, little gray looking thing.
Yeah, I don't know if they have like a. I guess they have like a navy kind of. They were wearing black jerseys for the first time. I was just like, what is blue and gray are Georgetown's, but white is white works with that. It's kind of a neutral color there. Man, give it up. I'll tell you, man. You got to give it up for Poli. BU is just in the hunt every year. I mean, top 20 basically in the polls for how many years in a row now, and I don't think they were obviously the last couple of years with that big attack line, Roy Meyer, the big attack line they had with Leia Dialti. I mean, since and even looked a couple of years before COVID, 2017 12-5, 2019 11-6, and then Chris Gray bolts out of town. 4 years, the past 4 seasons, BU is 42-20.
Yeah.
Double-digit wins every season. Their Patriot League record, and obviously a difficult conference, is they're 25-7 in the Patriot League the last 4 years. They won it in 2022. They won the regular season in 2023, and then lost. I think they lost to Army in the. No, 2023 they lost to Loyola in the semifinal by a goal at home. But then last year, beat Army, lost to Lehigh by a goal. So if they win this, it's 3 of the last 4 years in the Patriot League final. They've been in that semifinal 4 years in a row. I mean, they're just, regardless, consistent top 20 team year in, year out. And this year they were preseason. BU didn't get votes this year, the media poll preseason. None. After those 3 years, they did not get a single vote in the preseason. There were 32 teams got votes. This has been a team top 20 3 years in a row. And they didn't get a vote. Also, I'll tell you, every year, I always mention this stat at the beginning of the year. Every season, there's one team in the top 10. I don't know if it's every year, but it's happened kind of consistently, off a long time. There's one team in the top 10 that doesn't finish ranked. Always one team. This year, there are
Virginia's one, right?
4. I think there's 4.
1,002.
No, I'm saying top 10.
Oh, top 10. So yeah, I think
Virginia, Hopkins, Yale, Denver. 4 of the top 10 preseason are not going to finish ranked. Yeah, just plugging this for Mark. Folks, check out. I think he's going to be doing a podcast with Terry Foy tomorrow morning.
Right on. Absolutely.
And that should. I don't know. I don't know when Terry releases his stuff, but I imagine it'll probably come out sometime in the afternoon, something like that. So definitely check that out. Since obviously we love to have Mark on, and Terry obviously is one of the 3 big bracketologists. Ooh, toe drag. Oh, beauty. That's beautiful. Sick goal. I think BU's gonna pull away a bit here.
Princeton up 1-0 on Harvard.
Duke up. They were up 2-0 on Carolina. I think that's, I don't have I've been single screening.
Yeah, he's changing it now. They are up 3-0 now. Jake, I think I may take this offline just because I got a little bit early to see Mom for a day trip. But when close out, you're gonna hang out still? Or?
Yeah, I'll probably stick around. At least maybe I'll try and make it to halftime. But we'll see. But yeah, I'll be here. But thank you for stopping by, brother. Thank you guys for everybody who's been here. We've been going 3 hours. Been a lot of people in here all night. So
Shout out to Rain Delay. Help me out. Yeah. Back like, oh, perfect. You got the rest of the Notre Dame game.
yeah. So and yeah, Sunday night we'll be back in the saddle.
Probably won't be as nothing will top 2022, but should still be fun.
That was insane. But no, it should be fun. Last year wasn't super eventful, but we had a bunch of we had a bunch, you know, a lot of us, a lot of you guys were in there last year of Selection Sunday. It's Selection Sunday. It's always fun to see the bracket. I mean, you see the bracket, the anticipation. You get the first round games. I think we could have some awesome first round games this year, just with how close everything is. And you get to make Final Four picks. So yeah, it'll be a good time.
Good. See you folks soon. Yeah, well, we still got some drama in terms of like the seeding and where people are going to be sent. So
yeah, I mean, again, I think it's more just seeing where the bracket shakes out, because I think with how close all these teams are this year, if somebody, you know, you could have some crazy first round games. I mean, if you have Notre Dame go to Penn State or Notre Dame, I don't think Notre Dame will go to Ohio State, but if that happened, that'd be crazy. Or
congrats. Ohio State, especially if they win the Big Ten. Like, congrats.
Yeah, I mean, you got Georgetown.
Regular season and the conference tournament. Here's the two-time defending champion.
If they win the conference tournament, they're definitely not getting Notre Dame. Yeah, but if they lose and they fall to 5 or 6 in that range, that could maybe put it on the table. I don't think it'll happen though. But even still, where does Georgetown go? If they win, where does Richmond wind up? I think it's going to be a big storyline we're talking about. Again, when we put a scenario out there where Richmond got to like 6th in RPI, so if they're 6th, could they find their way in a home game? So I think I think the matchups first round and then seeing who's paired up in the quarterfinals is going to be a lot of fun to kind of track. So, and reminder, folks, we'll definitely be live for the Saturday. At the end of those games that Saturday. So the first day of the tournament, Saturday, we will be live after the last game concludes. So jump on with us for this. So make sure you're subscribed now. We're going to have a bunch of shows over the next month or so on here. All right, I think BU has wrapped this one up at 12-8 with 5:43 to go.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely safe. Take care, bro.
Take care, folks. See you out there.
All right. Yeah, I'll try and stick around a little bit here. Maybe get to halftime. The other delay was good for us in the sense we had a lot to talk about, but also kind of taking us. Thank you, brother. I love hanging out with you guys. I think we all do. And thank you guys for being so, active in the chat. We love it. Consider it a place to hang out, talk lacrosse. It was always fun. Try and get maybe to halftime, but maybe not. Maybe do the end of the first quarter in these games. But we'll see. We'll see how it's going. Princeton up 1-0 over Harvard in the Ivy League semifinal. And then you got Duke and Carolina going off as well. Yeah, I can't get over that BU thing. I'm going to look where we have BU ranked preseason. Because I think we had them definitely, I feel like, receiving votes at least. But I'll check that out. Give me a minute here. All right, preseason top 20. We had BU was. Did none of us vote? All right, fair enough. Yeah, we gotta hold our hand up as well. I'll go tweet that. I'll make sure to tweet that out. Yeah, they didn't get ranked in ours until week 4, February 23rd. Got a couple of 20 votes. Low scoring game here, Harvard and Princeton. I'll be interested to see how Princeton they played one of their best games of the year against Yale, as I thought. They just, took it to Yale from the jump and put it on them. And we've seen, Yale, a really rough year for Yale. It's a year that's kind of feel like it's been coming in terms of how their programs kind of fell off the last couple of years, the defense especially. But nonetheless, it was really Harvard just went off sides there. Or over and back. But nonetheless, a really tough year for Yale. But Princeton, that was a big game for Princeton. There were seeding implications in the Ivy tournament. And they took it to them. So obviously, Harvard's defense kind of settled in. Harvard has stretches where they play good defense. And so they can be a tough out, especially when the offense gets going. And I like Graham Stevens. A lot. Rock makes a good pointer. Yeah, if I'm Jerry Byrne, and I think kind of feel like what we know about Jerry Byrne, I feel like Harvard will. Did that go in? No, Stevens shut the door. I feel like he'll preach to Harvard, like, hey, man, we need this game. Maybe they don't. They get in either way. But you don't want to if you're them, you want to treat it like this is look, you're leaving it up in the hands of the committee. If you don't win this game, if you win tonight, you're in. So, but Princeton, Princeton feels like their ceiling is kind of capped a little bit with how kind of being behind Maryland. You get to the 2, which would be great. An Ivy League team hasn't had a top 2 seed since Cornell, I think, in 2011. And they're probably going to get 2 in the top 3 potentially this year. There's the score. Harvard ties it up. Oh, man. Looks like Duke 4-1 over Carolina. I think Petro just got Carolina on the board for the Blue Devils' Tar Heels' first goal of the night. I'll flip over there. Yeah, 4-1. I like Carolina's uniforms with the blue lids, white jerseys, and light blue or Carolina blue shorts. I do not like Duke going with black, and navy, dark blue, royal blue, whatever you want to call it for the Devils. If Duke wins this, you get the 3 and 4 in the ACC. I think it kind of says everything about what season we've kind of seen from these teams. And I don't know what you would do with good save by Jameson. I don't know what you would do with these ACC teams at that point, because you've got Notre Dame, who's down at 10th in RPI. Carolina the Cuse win would be huge for Carolina, because otherwise they'd just be sitting there with the Duke win pretty much. That gets them 2 top 10 wins. Duke will be coming on strong here. They started 0-2, and they'll have gotten wins over Cuse and Carolina and they were Richmond win as well. That'll certainly put them in probably in that 6-ish range. Mark, how much is Lafayette man up for? Are they? Is it like a non-releasable? Might switch over there. So, all right, never mind that. Big save for BU. I'll do it. BU Colgate should be a fun game. I think Colgate's 10-man puts them in. Is always tough to deal with. They got some real hitters on the offensive side of the ball, but BU's playing really well. Pardon me, folks. I think Duke's been playing really well offensively the last couple of weeks, and I mean, really, most of it's been at times. I should say they've been playing really well offensively. The UVA game was not. The defense has just been the story for this team. Charlie Johnson emerging into because they have the short stick D-middies. I mean, Duke might have the best set of short stick D-middies in the country, but getting Charlie Johnson to kind of emerge as a legit number one pole like that has just rounded out that defense. And Jameson's playing well. They're tough to score on. I mean, they're going to be it feels like a team that's going to be in, as long as they go, they're going to be in the game because of that defense being able to get them stops. The question is just, they have had games this year where the attack has not shown up to the party. And I think their midfield has been a pretty steady, positive all year long. Can you get 3 goals and an assist from Eric Molliver? Can you get 1 goal and 2 assists, something like that from Andrew McAdory? What does it look like if, I think Gil mentioned this point earlier, just some of these teams you kind of wonder if they're going to be able to string enough offense together to really go on a run. Yeah, I mean, Lafayette, what Pat Myers has done there is pretty incredible. Lafayette, before he got there, felt like, and I don't want to kind of throw anyone on the bus, just the way we kind of see some of these teams in the bottom of the last 10, 15, some of those, maybe some of those NEC teams, the way we kind of think about those programs was the way people thought about Lafayette. You had, I mean, if I go from 2000 and, Lafayette had a winning season in 2010, and that was their first winning season since 1984. And they went 26 years without a winning season. And then after that, they never won more than 5. But when Myers took over in 2019, they hadn't won more than 4 games since 2010. And it only happened, it was 2-2, 3-3, 2-4, 3-2-3. They were in that 9th place. I mean, they were last in the Patriot League every year. I mean, they were just a total automatic win for pretty much everyone on the schedule. And it got, I think, they really had to rebuild to get it back going, because they won 4 games in Myers' first year. And then in COVID, they started 0-6. And then 2011, they went over. And we've seen some teams the past couple of years when they kind of have that big, just the zero on the goose egg. That's just kind of it. Winning and losing. I mean, it's a culture. Like, it's when you lose like that, it can just get it's like it's in the floorboards, man. It gets pervasive, and it's really hard to overcome that. I mean, they lost at one point in time in Pat Myers' tenure. They were 4-1 in 2019, and then they lost 10 in a row, and they lost 6. They lost 27 games in a row at one point. Like, that's insane. And then 2022, they won 4. They got a win in Patriot League play, first win in 5 years. Then 2023 was the kind of the big jump to making the Patriot League tournament for the first time in over a decade. Last year, stepped back a bit, but I mean, still by their standards. And then now, I mean, this season is winning 10 games at Lafayette is if Lafayette had won the Patriot League tournament, I think there would have been a very good possibility. And honestly, I would have fully endorsed it that Pat Myers won Coach of the Year. You could still make an argument. Winning 10 games at Lafayette is, considering where that program is, they were senior classes at Lafayette that didn't win 10 games in their careers. It's remarkable. And finishing, where they did. They finished third in the Patriot League, man. Gil makes a good point. Like, that roster, as you look at their roster now, Riley Sullivan, their best player, is at a really underrated, great season, 71 points. After that, literally freshman scoring. Their best, on the defensive side of the ball, Andrew Matarese, the freshman, had 25 ground balls this year. They got Lucas DiGiovanni coming back. Cost turnover stats. They got a couple seniors on the defensive side. But on the offensive side of the ball, it is a they got a bunch coming back. They should be kind of continuing to keep that thing rolling, hopefully. All right, so final BU versus BU beats Lafayette. It'll be Mark says Colgate and BU in the Patriot League Championship game Sunday at 11:30 a.m. We will have just utterly hilarious. Air Force and Utah will play in the ASUN Championship Sunday in Jacksonville. What can you say? College Lacrosse 2025. We're waiting on, obviously, Syracuse and Cornell have booked their spots in the Ivy League and ACC championships. And I'm going to run down just what we've got coming up tomorrow, and then I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys again for tuning in with us. Because there have been some changes to the slate. So tomorrow, Robert Morris, Detroit Mercy at 12 p.m. in the NEC Championship. There's no disrespect to Lemoyne. Nothing against who had a great season. I'm glad that it's not a dead rubber NEC Championship. Detroit Mercy's had a great season with Charlie Hayes in year one. They won 6 games. I think they'd won 2 the last couple of years. So big, already a great, big jump for them this year. Towson and Drexel was originally scheduled for 3 in the CAA championship. That's been moved up to noon because of weather in the area. Robert Morris, Detroit Mercy, by the way, is ESPN Plus. Towson and Drexel is Lacrosse TV. Everything that comes with that. Richmond and High Points at 12 on ESPN Plus as well. It's at St. Joe's for the A10 championship. At 12:30, the MAC championship. Sacred Heart, here's a stat for you. No one has repeated as MAC champions since 2007. And that was Providence. So Sacred Heart's going for the back-to-back MAC championships. This Siena team I've really liked all year long. I think I picked them to win the league in the preseason. They will look to get to the NCAA tournament for the first time in a while. That'll be on ESPNU. Bryant and Albany should be a good one in the America East Championship. 2 good games in the America East. A great game like Marison Siena last night. I don't know how many of y'all caught that. That game was fantastic. Might have been the game of the weekend so far. But Bryant and Albany both had good games, wins over UMBC and Binghamton. So that'll be at Bryant, 1 o'clock on ESPN Plus for the America East berth. And then, as Mark mentioned, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, basically, go grab a snack, take a walk, do some errands. No games. 5 o'clock, CBS Sports Network, Georgetown and Villanova, once again for the Big East Championship. The Hoyas are going for a record 7 consecutive conference championships. And then Villanova trying to make the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018, I want to say. And then lastly, the nightcap. Those of you who have been listeners for a long time know we had Lohr, Ohio State, Maryland, 2017 Big Ten Championship at Ohio State night game. We've, affectionately and kind of jokingly called it the greatest lacrosse game of all time. If you haven't seen it or if you haven't seen it in a while, I would recommend if the game is up on YouTube, to go back and watch it. That was a fantastic lacrosse game. And I think this one definitely could be very good as well. We'll see. Both teams kind of more well-rested because of the way the Big Ten moved it up. So they got probably a full 48 hours rest for that one. So it should be a good game at Michigan. But that will be Saturday's slate. Utah Air Force is at 12 on ESPN Plus on Sunday, 11:30, as we just mentioned. And then I think it'll be the Ivy League Championship is, I think, at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Just going to double check that real quick. Yes, the Ivy League Championship will be on ESPNU at 1 o'clock on Sunday. The ACC Championship will be 1 o'clock on the ACC Network. All right. Princeton just scored to go up 2-1. I'm going to call it here. Thank you guys so much who have joined us tonight. We had a blast with this. The last couple shows we've done have been just an absolute hell of a time. Thanks to you guys for supporting us, being in the chat. Hope to see all of you for Selection Sunday, 9 o'clock. We'll be here live on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn notifications on. Smash the like button if you have not already. And with that, I bid you guys adieu. Stay hydrated out there. It is a hot one at the moment. And Becky Lynch for president. And here you go. Enjoy this outro. And for my man Gil, I think he'll enjoy this one if I can get it to work.
Ediston Motors, your job, your credit. Ediston Motors, your job, your credit. Ford, Hondas, Beamers, and minivans. Over 600 cars, trucks, subs. Are you listening, man? Can you give me some shots vodka, please? Ediston Motors, your job, your credit. Ediston Motors, your job, your credit. It's gonna be on YouTube for sure. For sure, man. I'm gonna kill you.